Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. To the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
Let's see. Audio check on chat. Let me see what chat says. Still 0. Chat has audio going. You're right, matey. Take a deep breath. Yeah, we've got audio. Audio's good. Thank you, chat. Awesome. Let's start again from the top there. Joe, please.
Well, there we go then. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Starbase friends around the world. Astro Joe here for RGV Aerial Photography, Starbase Weekly, episode 160. We got some fresh picks hot off the press from yesterday, and excited to share those with you. Going to be a fun show. I'll send it on over to Stephanie.
Okay, once again, g'day Alex. Hey, we've got Alex commentating today with me as well. So g'day Alex, how you going?
Pretty good, and feels like deja vu for reasons.
And we've got Ryan Hanson with us as well. G'day Ryan.
Good day, everybody. It's good to be back. I know we got lots of cool photos to share with you guys, so we'll get into it.
And we've got Todd with us as well. G'day Todd.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be here. Again, like we said, this is Deja Vu, but I still have to thank Matt for my scrolling name. I deserve that. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, good on you, Matt, in the background there, working that issue out for us, and everything's good again now. So let's start over here at Massey's, as we always do, and let's have a look at the new revised Methane Farm 2.0. So, of course, obviously a big noticeable change this week is they're building a commodities trench. So I think we should see something a bit like what's going on over there at Pad B over there on the launch site as far as commodities go, which I guess is a good upgrade.
Between that and turning the tanks around to have everything off the other side, it should be safer for the most part. Of course, something like that happened last time. I don't know what is considered safe, but I like that they're turning everything around.
It's a bit curious, though, how the methane's going to, where the methane skids and such are going to be.
Yeah, so there's a couple of new pads up here which may give us some kind of indication of where some of the infrastructure may be going. Not necessarily, but I'd say that's some kind of indications where some of the equipment's going. Excuse me, while we're here, I can see they have actually installed the new methane tank, and they haven't removed the other methane tanks, so there's a possibility there. Now, they've been spun 180 degrees, haven't they, actually?
Yeah, they're more than likely going to be reused.
Yeah, considering that they've turned them around and bolted them back down again, I'd say it's a very good chance.
It is a little interesting. I know last week we saw them cut the concrete kind of where we see this new trench being formed, but they also cut it towards the new horizontal methane tank that pretty much led directly to the little vaults that go underneath their little roadway there. And so it kind of was an indication that maybe they're going to try and tie into that area. But now this week we see that they've actually pulled out a lot of the pipes that were going into that underneath. So it looks like they may be completely redoing this area as well, making it uniform to what they're going to do elsewhere in the trench as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on that in the coming weeks here.
And
Absolutely.
other strangeness is there's replacement hippos as kettle boilers.
Yeah, there's
also,
two brand. Oh, go on.
there's the lower parts of the new skid system that have arrived there that go under the skids. BJ had found those, and that definitely shows that they're more than likely going with the skid system, as expected.
Oh, the hippos are up there, aren't they? There's new hippos. And the pump sleeves, they look new. I'm not sure if they're new or not. Maybe they're the old ones.
They're already replacing some of the pipes under the deluge system.
Yeah, so a lot of plumbing got damaged under here. I think we see some of this at Sanchez, don't we? Some of this size pipe at the GSC building. Yeah.
And they start reposition the Fire-X tank.
Yes, that was moved. Now it's back to where it belongs. The old vertical tank, part of the reclamation system, wasn't it, for methane, that tank?
Yeah, it's the phase separator.
That's the words. Okay, work continues over here on the static fire stand. I imagine that they're going to have some trouble moving this platform still. It would be hydraulically be locked down with hydraulic pins. I think we saw heaps of pins underneath, attachment points underneath. They haven't even bothered to even start to remove the old platform yet, so looks like they're happy to do the refurb work here on the actual flame trench. I imagine it'll be moved sooner or later.
With their love of scaffolding, it's probably no different for the crew.
I'm sure it was mentioned last week, but they've taken a few sample spots here. I think Zach did mention that last time he was on. So just doing some checking of the tanks. They seem to be happy enough with that, and they're continuing to do the installs. So those tanks must have passed. Okay, while we're here, quickly, we can see that they've started to do something about the crane. There does seem to be some kind of a dent in the ground here. Todd, you were telling me earlier.
Yeah, one of the thoughts is that it punched through the concrete over that drain culvert. If you go to the right, you can see where it empties into the water system. It looks like possibly bad placement, or it just punched through from something else as it went over. It's hard to tell for sure, of course.
The bends on that rigger jack seem to indicate that it was after it was tipping over that the concrete failed.
That would put a lot more load on that one point, wouldn't it?
The two jacks on that riggers on that side where it fell on both were bent inwards, and if it had to punch through it more, they would have been bent the opposite direction.
Okay, very good. Okay, what else got at Massey's? So I'll head over to the just another check around here. I think we covered everything here. So it's good to see all this work going ahead. So there's a good chance we're going to see some of the equipment at least there, and perhaps in this space as well, maybe. I'm not sure where they're going to tie the methane. Obviously the locks and that's still coming from this side. Not sure where they're going to place the pumps and the hippos yet. It could be still on that spot, or still could be over on this spot. I'm not sure yet. There are some skids here already, but that doesn't indicate anything particularly. These, Alex, these are the same as the ones we saw at the launch site, aren't they?
They're exactly the same. It's the pre-pump. The pad they just poured is almost a bit too small.
Yeah.
It's right on the cusp. But the upper rectangular pad, but the Rio side of the new methane tank is about the right length for two skids.
I was also going to mention with this pad here, you can actually see how it's maybe more level than the surrounding concrete, because the one end kind of has a little bit of a divot, and the other end is angled up with the forms exposed. So you can see that they want this pad to be pretty level, which is a pretty good indicator that something prefabricated is going to go here, which would kind of align with the idea of this being a placement pad for skids.
And the row of the new pads for potentially 2 more vertical tanks is using the tanks as an impromptu barrier.
Yeah. So there for the verticals.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of, instead of using a wall. I keep hearing about put a wall up, but I mean, with what happened with Ship 36, it's going to require some significant kind of a wall. Building a new concrete bunker in the middle, I'm still not sure what that's for. There seems to be maybe some in and out through here, and there's the a notch there as well. This photo seems to be a notch here, and there seems to be some kind of excavation through here, so which doesn't answer any questions, obviously. But seems to be quite a serious bunker with a step down in the middle. So I have to keep an eye on what that is going to be for.
And there's
Vault,
two round embed holes also in the base of that vault. I don't know if they're visible from any of these shots.
I think you're saying, Ryan, about the different media companies this week having aerial photos, which is kind of good the way things are rapidly happening. It gives us a bit of an idea of the steps along the way.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any angled photos in here that would kind of peek in kind of from the left side on that, but I know that, yeah, there were two kind of spots inside of that looked a little interesting. They kind of seemed to mirror a little bit of the old methane pump setup, but I don't think they really need a building like this to just protect the pumps. But, I guess we'll have to keep a lookout here. It is a little interesting the way that it's built very solid, and it would be quite far from, I guess, where the rest of the methane stuff is. So maybe a new control bunker. Not sure. I know the conduit for a lot of the stuff on site is roughly in that area, so it would kind of make sense that, from an easy standpoint, to try to reuse some of that conduit, and that would be, roughly where it was initially.
Yeah, because that cutting was from last week's photos. That other building was approximately there. Okay, thank you. The old booster quick disconnect frame is still over there. Oh, there's some. Are they the clamps off the static power stand?
Looks like what's left of them, at least.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Boy, they have seen some things, those pieces of steel. That no clamp should have to see. There's still a scattering here and there of some parts over here from, I guess they didn't quite get the finish over here because of the slight mishap on the crane. Over this side, this is a telehandler. I think that caught fire it was over here near the locks. Vaporizers over here. And this telehandler's, man lift, or whatever you want to call these things, aerial platform, is still sitting there without tyres. Okay, moving on to the cryo stand. So this week we see a little bit of advancement, in particular these couple of clamp arms that are missing here. Interestingly enough, they're different to the rest of them by the way that they mount with two holes, with 2 points, so they have left and right lateral stability. So I guess some idea to stop this lateral movement. And there's three of those particular clamp arms, which should be interesting to see. So we did count 20 of these clamps here on the site. I think from last week too, they're starting to do some of the hydraulics on the rams as well. So that's slowly getting moving ahead. I guess this doesn't really have to be ready till booster 18's ready, so that's still some time off. A big question we're getting is whether Masses is capable of doing a cryo test on ship 38. It's an interesting question. And as far as we can tell with the generators, as long as this plumbing isn't damaged, there's a pretty good chance that Masses is ready for ship 38. I'm not sure, Alex, this plumbing here, would it be damaged at all from the burning of the insulation?
Not likely. When we get to the launch complex, all the lines underneath the OLM are charred much, much worse than that.
That's a very good point. Yes, we have seen that poor launch. OLM. Yeah, she's definitely seen some charring underneath there.
Given that we haven't seen a whole lot of activity, I guess, around this area, I'm kind of tempted to believe that it's probably fine and they're just waiting on Ship 38 to be ready to come out here.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Ryan. Yeah, they haven't done anything. They would have removed it. They would have been working on it. Something would show more than now.
I believe there were some photos taken. I can't remember which who took the photos, but there were guys inspecting the ship QD here on the cryo stand. So I think they probably went through, inspected it to make sure that everything was working correctly, and there wasn't any visual damage. And so yeah, now they're just waiting for the ship to be ready.
And to purge out all the lines since they've been opened up while cutting back the static fire.
Yeah, they blocked these ends off, so the lines are okay to be livened up. What's all this small piping here, Alex, do you think?
It's for the new booster stand.
Of course, yep.
All the fiddly high pressure stuff.
Yep.
Well, you can see actually some small lines there. So between the two big lines that go underneath the stands, they're just, right there. Looks like when they removed the original stand, they just kind of cut them there on the right. And they're probably going to bring those back a little bit and turn them to follow the same path.
Yep, and they'll be on both BQDs, I'd imagine. There'll be pipes. I guess both BQDs are getting high pressure gases.
They should.
Early to tell. Yeah, they should. So the methane QD should have the methane high pressure stuff and likewise the oxygen, I guess.
Yeah, when we get to the launch site, some of that is starting to come into focus.
Very good. Counter the test structure, they seem to have stalled a bit here. We haven't really seen any frost or anything for a little bit of time now, so not sure if that's not sure why if that's I'm trying to say I'm not sure if that's an indicator that this tank farm is operational or not. Maybe they're just busy doing other stuff just at this particular minute. What do you think there, Ryan?
I think that this was something I'd kind of talked about a while back as well, which is, they've got a lot of projects in parallel now, and Ship 36 did not help that situation. And so I think that out of everything right here, they're, establishing what is kind of long lead item, what they should be working on when. And I think this one just got demoted where they're basically ready to continue testing here, but there's just higher priority items that they're working through currently.
Yeah, I agree. Because they haven't even added. There's a couple of things missing still. There's 2 rams at each of these 3 points that's supposed to be there, and they haven't put this ram in yet, or this one over here still. So it's like they've fully stalled.
Yeah, but Steph, just because they're there doesn't mean that they need that data. That might be for a future test, other tanks that they want that twisting action from. And this one, they got what they want. They know it's going to push the way they want it to, so they're just not going to install them. Or they come in the next few weeks and before they do testing.
Yeah, maybe they have got most of the freedom of movement, I guess. But yeah, I imagine they'll go in. There may even be lines for them over here.
It could also be a situation where the cranes were just busy doing, cleanup, and then of course we had a crane down. So, just trying to make use of the stuff that they have. I mean, they can use the big crane there, but it seems a little overkill for, a little piston. But, even just the crane operators and whatnot, it's just likely that this has been deprioritized right now, and they'll probably get back to testing. They just kind of want to get things, rolling on the ship area, and then they'll maybe come back here and continue with some testing.
Yeah, I agree, because once the demo's done and the site logistics are a little more squared away, adding more excitement to the party might not be advantageous.
Okay, so just before we leave, Massey's, how's chat going in there? Joe, any donations and questions to be mentioned?
Very good, thank you. I do have a couple of questions. First being from Kal-El. Are there crane mats next to the crab stand?
There are some on the next to the loading area,
There
but that
are.
looks more for servicing.
I guess does that maybe lead to a question, are they going to be able to lift the cryo stand off the trench?
If you look, it appears they've already built scaffolding from below up to about the... Oh, yeah, right in that gap. It looks like there might be a platform on the bottom. So I wouldn't imagine with the current crane situation they would lift that off. There's
All right.
some level of debate on how heavy the stand is.
Yeah, I do see what you're talking about, Alex. There's like a brown triangle down on the bottom. Yeah, kind of below your cursor, Stephanie. A little ways down there. Given the direction of the lighting here, that would be the shadow from like the edge of the opening down below. There's like a bright triangle here. Yeah, so that would it's presumably maybe a platform that they've built that has some light being casted onto it. So yeah, they may actually that might work out in their favor too, because if they can get the stand repaired to a point where they want to lift it off, then they might be able to try and roll the platform over and inspect it from the bottom side using that platform. So I guess we'll have to keep an eye out for that, or different lighting conditions might make that look a little different.
I see the platform now. Thanks, Ryan. Yep.
Yeah, and it looks like would be plenty of height to do the inspection.
All right.
So
Well,
I wasn't going. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
no, you go right ahead, Steph. Finish off your thought.
I'm knowing whether to ask chat for a poll about whether we think this thing's full of concrete or not, and if so, we need photographic evidence, and I don't think that photographic evidence exists. So we're still debating whether this thing's full of concrete or not. I'm leaning towards not, but I don't know for sure. So what does chat think? Thanks, Joe.
I guess
Yeah,
one thing
not
I'll
a
add
problem.
on that is it does kind of seem like it might be, just given the fact that they roll the ships without counterweights, and the stand is much taller than the old transport stands that they would use to go to the launch site. So there has to be some counterbalance mass somewhere, and I don't think it's in the ship.
That's a good point. Thanks. Right. Okay. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, all good points. Yeah, it's a question of photographic evidence, right? Anyway, I want to thank our very own this guy Todd, $10 super chat. Choo choo, all aboard. I'll be nice this week, Joe. He says, and $2 super chat from Kal-El. Thank you all for the attention. Sharpie with $10 super chat. All aboard. Choo choo. And a question from Gwenever, and we're in the same spot here. So next to the static fire stand, are those pipes removed from the flame bucket?
Pipes.
I think we might be referencing the crane mats, possibly, perhaps. I don't see any pipes over there.
No, I haven't seen from the flame bucket pipes. No, I don't think we've seen anything from down there yet. In fact, we've no idea still what the state of down there is. I guess they would have been able to lift, unless there's a platform in there. Maybe there is a platform in there. Oh, there probably is a platform in there, eh? I was going to say, maybe there's a hole through the centre they could be lifting ship parts out of the trench. I'm not sure about that. Oh, there's some more parts. Thank you, Joe.
And that's all I got.
All right, I'm hearing that there's concrete in the thing, so yeah, not sure. I'm sort of starting to lean maybe like I said, I don't really know. I can't remember at the time. I do have photos from the week before with these trapezoidal plates off and there isn't any concrete. Then the next week of our photos, they're being welded on, so it's still no real way to tell. But I do agree with Ryan in the fact that it's a counterbalance. So I think that may be the answer we're looking for. Okay, let's have a quick look around the local area. We've got the new Ad Astra school. We think maybe for the extra grades, higher grades of schooling for the local families of Starbase. I'm pretty sure this is being built by Starbase or / SpaceX. So it'd be good for the community to have a bit more educational facilities nearby.
Hey, Steph, let me snag one more question from
Sure.
Massey's here. Yeah, Drew Nar asking how much different is version 2 from version 3 to make ship static fire at Massey's? Like, is it just the ship QD plate and hold down clamps, or what are we looking at?
Ryan, I'll pass that one over to you, please.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be obvious commonality items. I mean, we're obviously still using the liquid oxygen, the liquid methane, and there's still going to be the same, high pressure systems in order to, purge the tanks and, get the pre-press set up. So there's going to be certainly a lot of commonality. We do know that the QD is entirely different, which was kind of expected anyway. So they will have to switch over the QD system. It's possible there are some other differences in the system, like maybe they're using a different way of purging the tanks than version 2. There could be other electrical requirements that would have an effect on the QD. Even just something as far as we know that they want to load the vehicles quicker with Pad B at the launch site, so a lot of the lines are sized to load quicker. And if they want to do a flight like test at Massey's, then ideally you would want to size everything accordingly so that you actually have a very similar test, so that when you get to the launch site, it's you've run through everything. There's nothing that should be unexpected. So there's probably a lot of things that are going to carry over from Pad B as far as some of the differences that we observe that they'll want to implement here. And maybe they would have not done some of those upgrades initially, but this is kind of an excuse for them to kind of go all out and do those changes ahead of time. So I'm expecting to see various changes. Whether or not there's something that we can totally understand from the aerial photography is one thing, but there's certainly going to be some differences.
Also, the added kettle boilers showing up sort of backs that assertion.
Do you think
Yeah.
there'll be more than 2 kettle boilers, Alex?
Yeah, they'll probably, if they're going to want to load the propellant at near, at least for a portion, at fueling speed to stress out the system, they would definitely need have a higher volume of sub-chilled
So what do you
propellant
think?
around.
Do you think they might split these two, Alex? Maybe one for methane and then one for oxygen, and then have 3 and 3?
Yeah. Because
Okay, 3 and 3, yeah. Well, even, 4 and 2, because the methane, they don't fully load, do they?
it's the volume that they would need to hit. And it's a
Interesting,
shorter
but-
duration, so you could probably pull it off with a higher flow rate on the pumps.
You'd also have to account for future vehicles as well. If they do want to go to a tanker, there's going to be overall more involved in that. So I'm assuming that they would want to test the tankers here. So they'd probably want to size that for future.
All great
So
points. Yeah, thanks for all that,
maybe
guys.
they'll fully load the methane tank. They never have fully loaded the methane tank, have they, for the static fires? That's all.
It's a balancing act for safety versus burn duration.
Yep, and maybe even the lock strain may even change on the new version chips. I was just thinking too while you're describing differences there, Brian. And I'm also be very interested to see how the new gantry system works, whether it's just the same or they're going to do something much different in that respect as well.
I think it'll probably be the same. It'll maybe roughly the same design. Maybe there's some additional changes that they kind of logged that they wanted to maybe do if they were to build one at 39A or whatever. They might have some small changes, but I think more or less it'll be the same.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Joe. Is that all the questions?
Yeah, not a problem. I just want to acknowledge one super chat from Joni, $20. Thanks to Astro Joe. Hey, wait, that's me. For hooking me up with RGV. Very informative to this newbie to rockets. So, yeah, thank you, Joni, and welcome. That's why we're all here.
Yes, feel rather chuffed to be part of this RGB community. We have some very outstanding minds in amongst the community, and I definitely learn every week so much about so many different things. It's awesome. And yeah, welcome aboard, all the new members. Okay, quickly jump around a couple of little sites before we go to Sanchez. Over at this storage slot, there was, what was new? Oh, the reinforced vaporizers for the launch site are sitting here. They're starting to use this extra bit of land quite a bit for all different bits and pieces. I think some of these is that Grover's boom. I'm not sure. I've been looking for Grover's extra booms for the Jube.
The heavier duty is Grover's might be the lightweight where you were.
Yeah, I think so. Because the rest is the SpaceX crane, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think there's much else really of note here, is there?
Without going deep in the weeds, not likely. At least half of the expected vaporizers are there.
Yeah, at the back there, yeah. Okay, we'll quickly go to... Oh, sorry.
Now, there should be 3 more in addition to those.
Yeah. I'll quickly go over to Rio West, have a quick little look around. There's not much to report here. I think we saw some concrete getting pumped by one of the other content providers. I can see the pool there, nice little swim pool. It's just as expected. The production line type construction is continuing on. I've been involved with this sort of type of construction as an electrician. It's kind of cool when you do that sort of construction. I used to enjoy it anyway. We've got the extra story on top of these apartment buildings. So they're basically a ground level car parking garage and then a sort of basically a ground level and an upper story continuing right throughout. These are quite fancy with their glass fencing around the outside. I guess some viewing platforms for some launches. I think that some of it might be, this building might be in the road of some of them, I think. These ones are clear, but I think that one, the building might be in the way. But that's only a minor detail. Okay, let's go over to Sanchez. Okay, we'll start over near the GC building, and of course there'll be something missing over there. We are missing a booster QD. We'll brush on that again a little bit later. Just a lot of these conduits we thought were commodities are actually just electrical conduits, but there is obviously a main line and a few other lines for cryogenics and gaseous products in amongst there. You have to bear with me. I haven't gone through my photos properly and organised them this week. Over in the GC we mentioned earlier, there was some plumbing for the... I'm sure there's a better photo of that. Some plumbing for the LOX tank here. I mean, for the water deluge tanks here for Massey's. I think that's that one. Is that right, Alex?
Yes, that should be one of them.
And for the water deluge expansion over at the launch sites, there's still some of this plumbing here as far as I know.
Yes, that's the upper gas manifold.
Okay, this week we see, so I don't think there's, so with the hood we saw going to the launch site, which was pretty exciting. So I don't have images of it. I might get someone to chuck some of them in Patreon Lounge. It looks like these doors are well and truly big enough for one each for the hoods. So once this thing's retracted, there's only that little tiny hole on the end of the hood needs to be covered. All the rest of the hood is pretty well enclosed, which was good to see. So it kind of reassures us that they are actually for the hoods. Over here, we still have yet to see clamps. You wouldn't believe simple things like shadows could trick my eyes sometimes, but anyway, we can edit that out of the show and tell.
Yeah, I was talking to Nick about the booster transport stand there with what we see, and it seems like they're kind of continuing the modular design on some of the clamps here, and this is a couple variations of them, but it seems like they're basically going to have like a plate that'll like slide in, and then there's 6 bolts that plate will then bolt to the drawers, or I'm not sure exactly what we're calling these, but so it seems like a little plate will slide in there that will already have a lot of the hardware on it or welded to it for the hinge point for the clamp and whatnot. So that'll slide in there. And of course, now that I said 6 bolts, I actually see there might be another set in the very back depending on the shadows, but basically they'll bolt probably from the bottom, and that'll hold it in place, and that'll kind of be just an all-in-one. It'll have kind of the little ball that the booster is going to sit on, as well as the clamp that we're kind of seeing on a lot of the other infrastructure as well. So they'll be able to kind of quickly change those out if needed.
Oh, because I can't see a hinge point in here, can we?
No, I think it'll all be sitting on top of that. And basically, there'll be a plate that drops in that has all the hardware on it already. So we'll kind of have to keep an eye out for stuff to show up that basically look like a flat plate with stuff attached to the top of it.
Similar to, but what's happening with the stand they're building at Massey's.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, those entries are all keyed.
So these these have the pivot points in here.
Yeah, so it'll basically be something like that. Yeah.
Okay, and a similar. Similar sort of bolt pattern here. Even it's a bit different, but yeah, I see what you're saying, Ryan. Yep.
Yeah, I think these are a bit bigger of a base plate, but it'll more or less be the same idea. The hardware doesn't need to be as beefy since it won't really be like a structural stand. It's mainly a transport stand. So I imagine they might thin up some of the material on some of that hardware.
Excellent.
Yeah, the test tank only had 4 clamps on it, I thought, when they rolled it.
Yes. With this stand here, yeah, it only has 4 clamps. Yes. Which, yeah, but I mean, it's only a little tank, isn't it? It's not a 70+ meter high booster, is it? Okay, since last week, this shipwork platform, stands platform, has seen all its plating put in place, which I feel is a bit, I don't know, I think it's the same. I'm sort of under the idea that this one may not need engine install hardware on it because of where it's going to be. When there's already 3 stands for doing engine installs, this stand's going to go in the front right-hand side, so it may not need engine install hardware, but that's still just a guess on my behalf. we'll just have to wait and see. And here's the main ring this week. They've added the top plates to the actual main ring, and we think there may be a difference in that this may not have the slides, and the clamp hardware may be just directly mounted on top of the ring on this one. What do you think of that, Ryan?
Yeah, I think that would probably make sense. It doesn't really need to slide out of the way like the booster does, since there's nothing kind of extending beyond the footprint of the main barrel section.
I thought the original ship ones had slides in there. Maybe I'm not remembering that right either.
No, I cannot recall any ship stand ever having any slides. There's been variations over the years for the ship stand, but I don't think they've ever had any moving slides.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up. I trust your memory there more than mine. Okay, moving on to these stands, which still is very much a mystery. We see three, well, I guess they're completed. Plus we see parts for at least another one. And over here there's parts for at least, let's say at least another one. So far that's, so there's two for the next one. There's another one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 of these stands all up.
Given
So
the number
far.
of those, it almost screams like booster to me versus ship. But I guess, do we have an idea on which vehicle these might actually be used for?
We have no idea about anything to do with these things at the moment. There is an angle shot there. One thing is there's a difference in the height between the levels, so those two are the same, but this one here, so it's a greater distance in here. So there is a variation in them as well. So there may be for different barrel sections, no matter which vehicle they're for. But like maybe this is for one of the barrel sections, particularly like halfway up the LOX tank or whatever, and one of these are for other parts of the along the whole barrel section of the vehicles.
Yeah, I'd have to check, I guess, with what the sections for the Booster 3 LOX tank looks like. But yeah, that could be a difference of maybe like a 3-ring barrel or maybe a 4-ring, or I'm not sure if they're doing 5 rings or not. I'd have to go back and see if they actually do that or not. But yeah, that is a good observation that they could possibly have a different designation based on the number of rings they have in the barrel.
So I can't take credit for that observation. We have a show and tell every week after the photo's been taken, and a lot of this information comes out in the show and tells. They're a great way to go through the photos. We usually take a bit longer. It was like over 3 hours yesterday, your time, I think it was. It was sort of yesterday my time, that's for sure. Okay, this week we have some advancement on the ship QD, in that they're starting to run some of the plumbing, at least some of the electrical conduits and some of the high pressure lines. They're electrical, aren't they? That's electrical. Looks. Oh no, that's gas. There's a better shot somewhere there of that one too. Yeah. Oh, that's not the shot anyway. So they're starting to put some plumbing in. We've seen these skips in previous flyovers. So they're slowly starting to do something with the QD after quite a long time of doing nothing with it, which is good to see as well. Yeah, I think that's gas. That'd be maybe the pre-press, perhaps.
Bit small. Don't forget there's a lot of hydraulics accompany this.
True.
Yeah, a lot of those smaller lines are probably either electrical conduit or the hydraulics that'll go out to the end of the arm. I think from back in the day when I modeled the Pad A arm, a lot of those ended up being hydraulics, or even they might even be pneumatic for some of the valve assemblies on the actual arm itself too.
Cool. Yep. you get to know the infrastructure quite well when you start modelling, I would imagine, especially with the detail you guys do. Okay, over at the generator plant, well, they're actually alternators, aren't they? Three-phase alternators rather than generators, if you want to be technical. They've removed all the exhaust. Now there's a front photo. Just bear with me with the photos here. They've actually got the doors open. There's a chance the engine's already gone, but I mean, there's a chance they're not also. Just one sec. I might have to give it a miss. Oh, there we go. You can see the doors are open. But I guess there's no real trouble. I'm not sure whether the engines are in there or not. If they're in there, they won't be long. They'll be getting removed. Okay. Now, what else is Sanchez? We'll go over to Remedios and the Rocket Garden, I think.
Looks like the first bits of Gigabay, so or at Sanchez.
Yep. Thank you. So in this light here, we're starting to see some Gigabay hardware. And we're saying these are to do with embeds.
That's what I'm thinking those are.
Yeah, it looks like a bunch of like anchors that would be embedded in the concrete in the foundation.
Yeah, for all the towers, steel towers that.
Very good. Okay. Well, I finally found the photo that I wanted. Cool. So over here with our drainage work, it's taken a bit of a unexpected turn. I kind of expected somehow there'd be this, not sure why, this looks quite logical the way they've got it now. We're seeing in the way they've got it sitting now seems quite logical to have it this way around. But they've got the big concrete base we saw delivered. Was staged over here last week. Used to join the drainage from the ring yard area to the drainage from Remedios Avenue area. And it seems to be exiting here rather than there, but I'll give a shout out to Alaska Space, who mentions that maybe this is actual retention pond or settling pond, and maybe it still will exit out the old exit where they used to exit the water, which would save some paperwork, I imagine. Not the paperwork's overly difficult.
It's that I agree with Alaska. That definitely looks like a settling area.
And whether they build another ship station here or not, I guess is yet to be seen. Elon did mention a while ago they're going to move the rocket garden to the front of Sanchez, so that's maybe not. We'll have to see in the future about that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got quite a number of ships currently in production. I believe there's like 7 nose cones that we can see through the nose cone hall windows. And so, if Pad B is going to be as efficient as we hope it will be, they may not have a lot of ships, hanging around for time like we used to have. So I'm not sure, I guess, how big of a rocket garden they may need for ships, but boosters might be a little bit of a different story, at least while the Gigabay is being put up and they're making their transition from the Megabay 1 to Gigabay, and I'm sure there will be some shuffling of boosters during that time period.
True, especially as they refly them, especially before Gigabay is built, they'll be needing to park some boosters. So there's still the transport stands patiently waiting for booster 16, I believe, isn't it? The next flight. They have scrapped part of the staging ring test articles in here. We can see in the bin over here some of the parts that were scrapped. Hot stage ring. Do you think I could think of that? Remedios Avenue is looking nice and finished, so the next booster may even travelled down Remedios yet. Once it's ready. Okay, I think we can go to questions, Joe.
All right, sounds good, but good timing. My dog's probably going to bark, so bear with us on that. I've got a $5 Canadian super chat. Thanks for from Junar. Thanks for answering. Seems like less work to temporarily fit the rebuilt Massey's for one more version 2 static fire than reinstalling the MacGyver to pad 1 for ship 38. Yeah, I mean that's a reasonable estimation. I want to thank Papa G for a gifted membership, as well as DN Winchester for gifting one as well. And a question from air quotes. I want to direct this to Todd. He has the answer. With the changes in the TFR, will RGV be able to fly without oxygen?
Yeah, so I actually talked to him about that this morning before I even got into chat. Yes, at 5,000 feet, the altitude sickness is next to none, and the oxygen is not necessary. They still have it with them for safety, but yes, they were able to fly without oxygen because of the lower levels.
Awesome, that's great. Well, good to have nonetheless. Question from Kal-El regarding those stands for Megabays, or Gigabay rather, who knows. Why are they black and white, or is it for visual like speed test dummies?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. What do you call it? Oh, crash test dummies. Is that what you're talking about? Make them black and white?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, flashback to Crash Test Dummies song. What was it? That song. It's a good question. Don't have an answer, but yeah, good question nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that's all I got. I got to tend to the dogs here real quick.
Never mind.
Hey, Stephanie.
Yep.
I was going to mention photo number 63 actually has a look into the openings of actually no, wait, was it 60? Which one is it here? Yeah, 61 actually has a look into the open doors on the old generator building. I don't know if you let's see here. It's the is this 61 for you?
I need a
I
need a 3-digit number.
Let's see if I can try and grab that quick.
Oh, are they different? Oh, hang on.
Yeah, they're different on the drive.
Gotcha.
But it's one. I guess if you scroll through the images at the bottom, I might be able to pick it out here quick. It's framed pretty closely on the Starlink building. It's kind of in the center of the image. So if you keep going to the right, keep going. That one, just to the left. One more to the left. And if you look in the top
Gotcha.
right, so you can see some stuff there through the openings. I'm guessing that they're still there.
Yep, that's them. Yep, thank you very much.
Yep, that's them. You're right.
Thank you. I normally have my photos more organised than this, so just bear with me today. We do have still some of the clamp mechanisms for the launch site here as well. We keep checking in on. We can see, maybe this photo is better. Yeah, this one might be better. So we can see a fully assembled one here, and we can see some of the, I guess they call them the cocky's beak part of it here, which is that piece. And in this wrapping here, maybe more of that other piece in here. I like to believe that each of these little stalls here have items that belong to each other, but when I mentioned that, I was laughed at, so perhaps not. It's all good.
They may try to do that, but as shuffling takes place, I mean, if you've ever worked somewhere that has inventory, it usually doesn't end up where it's supposed to be after a couple of weeks.
Yes, true. Actually, this week we've got a shot of one of the legs there for the new ship workstation. So the ring will sit up on top here, of course. And then in this photo too, I think it's been mentioned before over the weeks, there's the shielding that they put in between the legs here as well, and the rest of the bits and pieces for that stand ready to go in, and maybe some, not sure what these are, some kind of platforms. Oh, they're platforms, yep. Oh, we've seen them before too.
Looks around or above the those panels, flat area, elevated working space.
Yeah, we saw those earlier when that went around the other these other stands in these other work stands in here, and we were kind of curious as to what this meant. I think we were even thinking they may be elevated, but I don't think they end up being like movable. But I don't think that ever actually happened. Okay, well, we can move on from Sanchez, I think. We've got a really nice panorama from the build site this week, all the way to the launch site. Okay, I'm going to jump quickly towards the back of the building, and ta-da, no more tent 4. A lot of people have been waiting a long time to see this tent finally be gotten, and there it is, it's gone. So the bakery now, oh, sorry, go ahead.
So of all the pictures, the wonderful pictures this week, the great detail we got, this was the best one.
For some people, very much so. So finally, no more tents for Starbase, for Star Factory. So we're assuming that the bakery is now in that area, and they probably went through that wall to get all the equipment in there. We assume because of that, I think this has been covered a number of times now. That's some kind of extraction system. So I'm pretty sure that the bakery is in there. The question was asked in show and tell, would they need extra extraction? I remember the tent 4 only had the HVAC units at the front, so there wasn't a great deal of extraction in tent 4, and now they have this unit here for extraction, and maybe even this under here, maybe something to do with that as well. So that's to answer the extraction questions before they come up. And while we're here, we can quickly look at that the receivers building. We can see that they've finished. Oh, we might be able to see. We can see they've finished the roof in this corner. Okay, with that, we'll just jump back around to Gigabay. So the count begins. I believe there's some people counting piles already. Good on them. I haven't kept track of that at all, but here we can see a whole host of piles freshly being dug. And these would be set, wouldn't they, Alex? They'd be already concreted in and everything.
But yeah, they concrete as they're extracting the auger.
And then drop the cages in through the wet grout/concrete.
Grout.
Yep.
Which you're getting very splitting hairs at that point, but technically a grout.
Yeah, I understand the sale sort of went concrete slash. I thought we saw some. Oh, that is where we saw them. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong way around.
And there's some, looks like on the wall of the parking structure, some more starts for the embeds and such.
Sorry, say that again.
On the parking structure wall to the right of the right in that gap, there's the start of some other embeds.
Cool. Yep. So we'll start to see lots of things staged. So far, we're going to see a lot of foundation or whatever you want to call groundwork things being delivered, and then later, I guess sooner or later, we're going to see some of the steel, but maybe not for some time. If we look at, actually, is it here? We can quickly look at Roberts Road here. This will give you a bit of an indication of what we're going to see here at Starbase with the aisles and the workstations. And I was yesterday years old. I was told that this is Star Factory because for some silly reason I thought Star Factory was going in here. So I stand corrected. So there's Star Factory. So there'll be obviously doors at this end and similar to Starbase, doors at both ends. I hope that was all right to show that image. I actually didn't get permission to show that photo.
I think it's a satellite image, so
Yeah.
I think that you get the rights when you purchase it for.
Okay, that'll do. I'll stand on that. So we're going to have 2 doorways here and more than likely at least 1 or 2 doorways back here for the parts to come out of the factory and around the corner and jump in this end. And there'll be many, I think someone knows how many workstations in here.
I think it's supposed to be 24, so it'd be 2 hallways of 12 with I think 6 on each side. So probably initially it's probably going to be booster one side and ship on the other. Who knows if they'll keep that trend if they build an extension onto the Gigabay, like I think they will. But yeah, it looks like 1 hallway will be for 1 vehicle type, and the other would probably be for the other.
And the work at Roberts Road really makes it look like they just took 6 Gigabays and stamped them out.
Are they the actual 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stations? Yeah.
Yeah.
With a wall in between.
I want to thank Event Dudes for mentioning the sake of the show. Just for the sake of the show, that's Maxar. So credit to Maxar on that satellite pic.
Oh, thank you heaps, Event Dude. I really, really appreciate that. Thanks. I was supposed to ask about that before the show, but I just slipped my mind. Sorry. Appreciate that, Event Dudes. Heaps. Thank you. Event Dudes is always on the sidelines adding very useful information to everybody. So I appreciate your time and your participation. Thank you very much. Okay, Gigabay. Yes, I guess there's not much more to say about Gigabay until they start doing more works every week. I guess there'll be more and more we'll be able to talk about as it continues. I don't think there's anything else that stands out. I guess one thing happened through the week, one of these blew a hydraulic line. I don't think that's really anything major. Obviously, they got it going again. So you ring up ReadyMix. We have ReadyMix in Australia. You can ring up ReadyMix and they'll send you a grout/concrete mix. It doesn't even look like concrete. It's a different color, is it even, perhaps?
Yeah, it's just very liquidy.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the Gigabay.
Hey, Steph, one sec real quick.
Yeah.
Can you go back up to those possible embeds by the parking structure? How many of them are there?
Not quite enough yet. 16.
Tower crane bases. I wonder if we're going to see those in the corner for tower crane.
They could be for that, yep. 4 each for 4 of them.
Well, they're drilling the piles for that at Roberts Road.
Oh, this guy here.
Yeah, they're in the center hallway.
Yep.
And that's a Frankenstein rig.
This one?
Yes.
Cool. Yep. Thank you, Todd. Appreciate that. So, look, somebody said it doesn't look like there's quite as many piles in this, or is it all the way around?
You'll put down a row and then you'll go back because you want the piles to sort of set, and for the spacing, it's easier just to run the drill straight back and then just swing the boom left and right as you drill.
I think BJ is trying to keep a count on the number of piles, but I don't know a current number, but I thought it was like north of 200 they've already done. If that number is completely out there, I guess let me know. But I thought they had done more than 200 already. but it's kind of hard to tell from the images and from the air because they will go back and cover those areas up as they move around the site. So things will kind of disappear and reappear. We saw that with Pad B when they were constructing a lot of the foundations over there.
Yeah, I think they're up to around 30 a day that they're drilling.
It's pretty good progress.
Bent Dude says north of 300.
You would
Off by
definitely
just a
know.
few.
And there's Vix with 321 as of last night. So I definitely pretty sure we're at 321.
Is that Vix counting or BJ counting? Vix is pretty good at counting things, I must say. Over the years, we've seen Vix count an enormous amount of things.
If Vix is stamping that, I'm going with it.
I think that rough numbers where we were expecting like 800 plus or minus some or so. I mean, we're getting close there to halfway.
Yep, very good.
And they repoured the concrete coming out of the nose cone hole.
Oh, sorry, where was that photo I just heard? Yeah,
I didn't do that intentional, I promise.
this whole bit of concrete.
Yeah.
All the way to there. Okay, I didn't even actually see that dug up, did I? Was that dug up last week?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. And they've
Yeah,
made
they
this
had-
little slab here, too. Sorry, Alex.
Oh, it was just to level out where the old foundation was. So it's a nice smooth slab to move the vehicles.
Over here, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Almost looks like it's going to eventually be another entrance, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's concrete. It's temporary.
Of course. I said that at the launch site. I said to Chantel, looks like they're starting to finalise things because they're pouring concrete, and everybody laughed at me again. Here's me thinking concrete's permanent.
That's aspirational.
Okay, moving on to Gigabay. Gigabay 1, we've got 15 and 16 inside. I can't remember which way around they were again now. I was told yesterday, but that was yesterday. I can't remember if it was 16 in the middle or 15 in the middle. Nobody going to correct me? Now, this stand... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say no because I thought you were right. So, but yeah.
Once again, it feels like something I should know.
I can't keep track, so you're not alone. I know there's a lot of people that can't keep track. Give it a minute. Chat will let us know.
Yeah, sure. What's 1,700 trucks worth of what? Concrete, or 1,700 trucks worth of grout? That's a lot of trucks.
1 or 2.5 per some of the piles, at least.
Yep. Okay. Now, just speaking of BJ, we're wondering about this stand still, and I like this thought about this stand. That my comment was, this is obviously enough for the down camera install because they've already installed a down camera in Booster 18, but maybe they did that because this stand wasn't quite ready yet, and this is still going to go on the right-hand turntable for the installation of the transfer / downcomer / whatever you want to call that great big tube. We still don't quite know yet.
All I can say is this thing looks very janky on that top level. I don't know if that's supposed to be totally like that, but it looks pretty far on to be temporary, so it looks very weird.
His thought was that down here it might be just for internal work, like there's that smaller section the pipe went in and then they dropped the big one down, so maybe one of these is to weld that together. And then up here maybe there's something on the outside, or on the barrel, on the inside of the barrel, but on the actual barrel walls perhaps needs something on the inside, needs working from this platform.
Are they going to concrete that platform?
It appears so.
And I would still guesstimate that that's larger than 9 meters. And that
Yeah, and it's not even
oblong.
circular. It's that's not going to go inside of a ship. I don't think it definitely looks, or a booster, I should say. It looks like the diameter is larger than 9 meters.
It's
On that.
circular-ish.
I think whatever work platforms surround it would make more sense. Like part of it's rounded and then it.
Is that 9 meters, that circle? Down on the ground?
I can't say for sure if that's marking the 9 meters or if that's just marking a space to set something in there that's 9 meters that fits with inside.
I have never measured that circle.
Just trying to remember from ring yard days when the rings were on the circles, whether they even used the same size circle these days, but that was just a quick rough guesstimate. Yeah, so yeah. I'm sort of thinking it does look bigger than 9 meters. I do appreciate what you're saying, Ryan, but I'm still under the impression it may be slightly under 9 meters, but I don't know.
It might be. It just seems very weird that it's not circular, and it doesn't really look like it has any sort of symmetry. Like maybe it's supposed to be like a rounded, triangle, very rounded triangle. It doesn't even look like that on some of the other images. There's another image that's actually a little more top down on it, and it's just not. It's not circular.
Yeah, it's a very weird shape, I must say. It's got a sort of bulge over here and sort of weird bulge over there and there and here and there and there. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
The shape is confusing.
I don't think you could. It's the longer dimensions definitely larger than 9 meters.
All right, we'll just have to wait and see once again. It's obviously designed especially that way. They wouldn't make a mistake, would they, like that?
I guess over there on the right, you've got some of the load spreaders. So that might be an okay way to try and measure it. Don't have to do that on stream, but just a size reference. I think those are 9 meters in diameter or in length, so you can compare that.
Okay, yep. I'll do that at another stage. Yep. Okay. I didn't like my little demo there. It's all good. All right. So not much to report on. We did see, was it last stream you did the downcammers, didn't you, Alex? The new downcammer? Yes, cool, yeah. That was quite a good thing for SpaceX to show. Actually, maybe while we're here to do with boosters, we can quickly look at this post from Elon. So they've pulled up booster 13's aft section out of the Gulf, which is possibly because it's in Mexican waters. I'm not sure exactly. That's just one theory I've heard.
I think it was a navigational hazard because it was very close to the surface because the Gulf is quite shallow in that area. I think it was even marked off on some of the Mariner plans. It's a hazard.
Generally, yep. Go ahead, Todd.
Okay, this rig is a type of rig that sets its legs down and lifts itself up. So where you see the LB Jill, that's actually in water when they're transporting, and the legs in the center of it drop down and push up so that they can get a firm plant. So that right there indicates that it was not in deep water, because they can go deep, but not super, super deep.
There's those legs there. Yeah, that's limited in its depth. That's right. This isn't very deep water for this thing to be like this, and a lot of the legs still above the ship, isn't it, Todd?
Yeah, quite a bit actually.
Yeah, I think I'd read somewhere that this boat was able to do maybe 200 and some feet of depth or something like that to support itself. So, but generally speaking, SpaceX has kind of gone after booster parts that have fallen in shallower waters. There's probably a lot of reasons to do so. When you're only in 200 feet of water, that's something where a diver is able to go down and kind of tinker around. So you wouldn't necessarily want to leave some of that stuff out there for very long. So yeah, they went out and they got booster 11, and now they've gone out and gotten booster 13. So yeah, they're cleaning up some stuff that they rather not have out there in shallow water.
That definitely would have been a diver's paradise for a while.
So by memory, this is 13 had the aborted landing attempt, and then the oxygen tank half of the booster floated for quite some time before they perhaps shot it and sunk it.
Well,
And
they shot it pretty early on. Actually, in Tim Dodd's live stream, you can actually see when they shoot at it and create holes in it. It just took it a long time to finally fill up with water and sink. So it drifted pretty far into to Mexican waters and before it finally sank.
And of course, there's the conspiracy theories that they're worried about the Chinese going after the engines. But anyway, sorry, that's probably just sorry. I'm just being funny there. I apologise if anyone finds that triggering.
I mean, I don't think it's funny. Anybody out there would want these engines to copy, and yeah, that would be one of my guesses as to why they want to get rid of this out there. I mean, there are many of them, but that would be on the top of my list personally.
Especially when there are the radar and the maps showing where the vehicles are when they're out at sea. So I mean, it's not hard to track where some of the debris may end up, and then if you're organized enough, yes, you can go out there and you can find these pieces on the Gulf floor. So it's really not that hard to do. So just removing the incentive is good on them.
Yes, absolutely. So there may be some truth to that after all. Yep, cool.
Oh.
Thanks, guys.
Didn't Jeff Bezos recover one of the Saturn engines a few years back?
Yeah, he looked. I think they were trying to find the couple of the F1 engines from Apollo 11, and I think they ended up finding a couple. I can't remember if one of them actually ended up being from 11 or not, but I think they ended up finding a couple of them.
That's a good question. I always wondered why they didn't actually just tow it back, but I guess safer to let it sink, I guess. Okay.
They have a set procedure in their environmental licensing on how they dispose of them.
The problem that you have is even if the common dome blows and you end up with just the liquid oxygen tank, presumably there's still methane in there and it's burning, and we saw that with booster 13 when it was floating in the water. So you still have a mixture that is actively combusting, and the way that the booster is designed and with the tank and how it floats on the water, it basically creates a bowl that just burns until it just burns whatever is there to burn. So generally not safe to get close to that until you're for sure that the fires are out.
Is today the anniversary of the moon landing? Is it the 20?
According to Forge Gamer, it is.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep a tiny eye on chat every time someone else talks, but I'm not really looking at chat. That's Jay's job for me. He does such a good job at it too. So there's still a bit of rubbish coming out of Megabay, out of Star Factory, Megabay. And so they're still doing some iteration, I guess. This factory obviously is R&D factory as well, so they're researching and developing ways of building the ship. I think Elon's up and said half of the battle is half of the technology is actually how to build the ships in production line process. So as we've seen in Sanchez, there's various bits and pieces of hardware continue to get built and iterated and upgraded. So that factory is still very much an evolution or an iteration in progress, which is awesome. It's a good way to do things.
Manufacturing is very hard.
Yeah, and I guess in time they'll learn enough for this factory. I guess it's one of the reasons they're delaying the factory over there at Florida. Just on that, there's talk of bringing ships and boosters from Texas to Florida. Now, I'm sure they'll be bringing only barrel sections on barges and stacking them in this Gigabay rather than bringing full boosters and ships over on barge. What do you think of that, Ryan?
Kind of, I don't know. It's the difficulty is that just making the barrel sections is one thing, but then you have to have all of the, the jigs and the assembly hardware to actually put them together. And even then, you still have some specific stuff like even the high pressure, raceways. They've got the jig that is used to install that, which that piece comes from assembly in the factory as well. So just because you have one of the bays doesn't necessarily mean that you can actually just pick up construction where it might have been paused in another location. So I think if they take vehicle, or if they do manufacture vehicles at Starbase with the intent to take them to Florida, I think it's going to be a full vehicle. It's not going to be pieces of a vehicle. Having a full bay to store the vehicle and do any final work on it will obviously be important, but I don't think they're going to take pieces. I think they're going to take a full completed vehicle to Florida when that time comes.
In 37's PAE, I thought it was 40 or 80 barges worth of vehicle parts and manufacturing equipment they're expecting from Brownsville to the Cape.
Because the other issue you have too is that, even if the pad at 39A is ready to accept vehicles, they would have had to have built the booster, cryo tested the booster, and static fired the booster, which would be possible, but the ship is more of the issue. You can't static fire the ship unless they're going to build a static fire stand in Florida. So, if anything, if they're going to take pieces and assemble something, in Florida, it would probably be a booster. But when it comes to the ships, I think there's a lot of hardware that Starbase has that it doesn't seem like there's really any intent to basically duplicate that in Florida. So they would be, quite a bit behind on the ships if they tried to do that in Florida. So I think at minimum they would barge a ship over.
I think for 39A it's going to be the full stack, just because looking at the progress of Gigabay, they're probably a year and a half out before they're at the point to be fully stacking.
Cool. Thanks for that input. It's so vertical or horizontal transport on the barges. Would they be able to transport them vertically?
Yes, but I don't think there was another document that said they're going to be building a breakover rig somewhere at the site.
Many years ago, it was stated that they would transport the vehicles horizontally, that there was a plan to do so. So then again, when that information was current, the boosters also had significantly less stringers inside the barrel sections, and now we have a significant number inside the different tanks. So depending on how you want to interpret that, maybe that means that horizontal is still a thing, or maybe they want to do vertical, and maybe they can handle some of the swaying stresses while on the barge over to Florida. Not really sure. But it does seem like there is an intent that they likely will barge over the first set of vehicles that will launch from 39A.
Cool. So cool. I'll be very interested to see that happening. Okay, so onto this building, the apartment building. Where's that photo? It's moving ahead as we expected. This big foundation putting, whatever you want to call it, down here has been finished and backfilled. Looks like most of the groundwork there is pretty well complete. There's still a bit going in over here and in here, obviously, and a bit down here still to go, but it's coming along nicely. The rest of the village, there's just that set of apartments over there that slowly progressing. It's quite a slow project, that one, with everything's going on. That street's finished. As much as I thought LBJ, is it? Yeah, LBJ has been finished, and they go and dig up all this end once again, so it's not quite finished yet after all. Looks like the gate is going in here. And I think they're going to block this street up and allow access to the medical centre maybe through that street or even through this street, and block this off here to make it a completely... Oh, go on.
Is it stipulated that it's for public use, the medical center?
No, but I imagine they'd want open access from the highway in case something happens, and I don't know. No, I don't know that.
Most public safety, they have there's universal codes for controlled access to sites.
So this will be gated. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. That's a good question. So with that gate there and the one there and the gate there and the gate there, that creates a completely gated community here, which is good for the community because I imagine quite a few tourists get down here and drive through the streets just because you can. I probably would if I was a tourist myself. I'm probably guilty of that myself. Which I guess the locals would probably get sick of. It's a good way to protect these families, so there'd be kids out and about playing, so it's a good idea to have this restricted traffic. Okay, Joe, once again, we'll finally go to questions for the build site, please.
All right, I'm too busy laughing about Vix in chat, so I just want to thank Drew Nauer for a $2 Canadian super chat. Woof, woof, woof. They're just saying hi to chat, and yes, they are. Question from Todd Harris. Do y'all think that the first Starship at the Cape will be sent as barrel sections and assembled in the Gigabay there? Kind of seems more practical since that one is further along. What are your thoughts?
I'll leave that with Ryan. I think we covered that, did we?
Yeah, I think we more or less covered that, but I think more than likely the first vehicle that will launch out of Florida, or pair of vehicles, or even a couple pairs, will likely be built at Starbase and then moved over there. I don't see the Gigabay in Florida being actually used to build vehicles for probably 2 years. It more or less will just be kind of like a glorified rocket shed, and then they'll hopefully the vehicles in Florida they'll be able to maybe catch and reuse them, so they won't need new vehicles every other month or whatever, or even every month. So at some point, I think they will build, but I think the first couple are likely going to be shipped over, fully completed and hopefully tested. In the ship case, I think they have to test them at Starbase before they send it over, and then after that, maybe do some just cryo testing to make sure that stuff is still systems on the ship are survived the barge trip over. But otherwise, static fire for ship seems like it's going to have to happen at Starbase.
All right, that sounds good to me. Little short on questions from the last segment, but I do want to thank Felix11 for a $10 super chat and a question. Since Massey's is sort of a single point of failure in terms for ship testing, would it make sense to build a ship adapter for Pad B just in case? For that matter, for the Cape as well.
It's at some point the Cape probably have ship testing infrastructure, but it's sort of a one-off, given how many static fires they've done at McGregor and at the Cape over the years for Falcon.
Yeah, I kind of foresee Florida probably getting a static fire stand at some point. It might even be like what they have at Massey's, but times 2. So like 2 of them next to each other, maybe some distance apart, so we don't have a falling sky is falling of rocket parts on the other one. But I think it's possible they may do that just so that they have the redundancy in Florida, and they certainly will have the space to do it probably. So I think that's going to happen.
All right. Got another hypothetical before we move on to the next segment from Liam Donald. Where do we think we'll see the first HLS be built? Any recent sighting of hardware in Texas?
The human landing system? Not really. I haven't actually heard much about that at all of recent. Actually, Ryan?
No, it's been pretty quiet on that front. I mean, it's not that SpaceX isn't working on it because I'm sure that there's lots of components, for the the systems on board that they've done some testing and maybe some integration stuff in Hawthorne to see how that will work. But I think more or less they're just focused on getting to the orbital refilling stage here in Starbase, and that's kind of their primary goal. I'm gonna say that we probably won't see HLS come out of the Star Factory in Starbase. I'm going to guess that that's probably going to come out of Florida, but there's a likelihood that we see launches to support HLS come out of Starbase, tanker missions from probably Pad B, and at that point in time, possibly even a remodeled Pad A. But I don't think we'll actually see HLS in Starbase. If they do, it probably would be the very first one, and then they would transition fully to Florida after that.
Yeah, I'd expect most of HLS to be being worked on in Hawthorne, since all the life support and that sort is something that currently isn't on Starship's radar.
Yeah, all good analysis. Excellent. My cue is clear. Free to move along.
There was one other question about launching a ship mission from Texas here and landing a ship in Florida. I guess from time to time there would be missions where ships could take off from one launch site and land at a different launch site. I guess it depends on the orbital mechanics of the mission, and depend on the requirements of the mission. But I guess there's a possibility that some ships could take off from one site and land at a different site. Obviously, the booster can't, but maybe the ships eventually may move around from site to site as their missions dictate.
The ships definitely could land at one site, depending on their orbit. As long as they're in the same plane, they'd be fine.
That probably wouldn't be an option until the ships have all 9 engines, I would imagine. I know right now the ship really is kind of underpowered. Now that may change a little bit with Raptor 3, of course, but this idea of like a single stage to suborbit isn't exactly possible right now, but maybe in the future they could. But then again, if you're just dealing with propellant costs for the most part, I mean, you could still just launch on a booster, make sure it gets there, and just underfill the ship for kind of its smaller coast. So that might be more economical at that point.
Or orbit and come down, because currently the ship would just sit on the pad and melt everything for a while before it had the right thrust to weight ratio.
I think my point, I guess, as a ship takes off, say here from Starbase, it's not called Boca Chica anymore, is it? Say a ship takes off here from Starbase, does a few orbits, completes its mission. What I'm suggesting is that its landing site, they could choose different. It doesn't have to naturally come back to the site that it took off from, rather than actually just being a transport mission.
Right. With Dragon, they're dropping them now in the Pacific rather than off Florida. The shuttle would take off from Florida and land at Edwards. So once you're in orbit, it opens up many more avenues for your landing area.
And like I say, it depends on the inclination and the mission and where it was sent and how it's going to come down, I guess. So, yeah. Anywho, let's move on to the launch site. I guess big news this week is they've installed one of the booster quick disconnects, which is a massive big step forward in the progress of Pad B. And I'm going to give you credit, Alex, here for calling out that it was the methane side rather than lock side.
Well,
Also, just want to mention too, I think these are like the best photos we've ever gotten of Pad B, thanks to the weather and the lower altitude flight. So Mauricio did a fantastic job getting photos of this hardware because it's very cool hardware, and yeah, they're progressing very quickly with it. So having really nice photos like this really helps for making sure that stuff's documented in the future.
and on the hoods at least, the differences between the Methane hood and the LOX hood are probably minimal at best.
Yeah, because we were discussing yesterday, so they're on a radius. It's the substructure obviously underneath the methane one's a little bit different, but now they're up here at deck level. Now they're basically exactly the same rectangle attached to the side of a circle. So everything from now on above the deck height should be pretty much identical.
And the stairwells and everything else, if you look in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And perhaps access hatches onto the deck as well, even.
Right there.
Yeah, the
So
inclusion of
go on.
the inclusion of the stairwell is a really cool feature, because I know when I was looking at the design here and seeing how that it doesn't really seem like they're going to have a work platform, at least not yet, and how it on Pad A, how they're have to kind of to get onto stuff, they have to have various ways of ladders and whatnot, and seeing how that didn't seem like they were going to have any external stair structure, it kind of puzzled me exactly how they were going to be able to get up onto the deck if they needed to. And so yeah, having when we first saw the openings be as wide as they were for the skinny quick disconnects, it kind of made a lot of sense that okay, they're probably going to have some sort of an access stairway that goes up through this enclosed structure, because why not combine them versus just having a separate enclosed structure that could experience wear and tear. So just combine them, and yeah, having the two staircases, that'll allow them to service the hardware inside the quick disconnect, as well as go out onto the deck through the doors that we've seen on the side of the one hood. So yeah, it's a really nice blending of two things into one.
And the other neat thing they did is the way the face flares a little bit. It puts the doorways a bit in a shadow of the plume.
I had
Indeed.
a picture of that here somewhere.
Yeah, you can just kind of see it etched onto the deck there a little bit too, how it will, because that's one of the big issues they have on Pad A, is that the plume comes along the side of the booster quick disconnect, and it just eats away at the steel and the welds in that area. So yeah, this flare will definitely help kind of produce a little bit of almost like a shock wave around the edge of it to prevent some of that wear and tear. And I almost imagine that they might have holes to spray water in that area to aid with some of the additional cooling.
Yeah, there's go on, Todd.
I was going to say, not to mention how incredible these photos are. The timing was absolutely awesome, because they have put the hood on top since then, and who knows if when the other one goes up, if we'll catch it in the time frame from setting down to the hood. We might never see any of these shots again, so the timing was just awesome.
Absolutely. Now, permission from Starship Gazer. This is what it looks like from side on. I was quite surprised by the angle of this thing. So obviously the quick disconnect frame is attached to the top here, so that arc there, that this frame moves as far as these pins here move, so it will rock quite a long way forward to get all the way over to the booster, which is a fair distance, to be honest. If we look here, so that's its retracted position, and then it has to come all the way over to roughly here somewhere in line with these here, so it's quite a bit of distance there. And of course there's those doors then, which will probably be hooked into this mechanism somehow to close as the quick disconnect retracts.
Yeah, there's likely going to be some like turnbuckles that'll attach to those triangular pieces that extend out, and then the actual hinge portion that we see on those doors in Sanchez, that'll actually connect up inside the top of the hood. I'm actually starting to call the hood the doghouse because it's got like a little small door and like this big tall thing. So it reminds me a lot of a doghouse. But yeah, it looks like there's a couple of pivot points up in the top of that thing that those actual like kind of curved arms will connect up into. So it basically works the exact same way as Pad A. It's basically nearly identical in terms of its function. They've just kind of like duplicated it and then slimmed it down in each of the different housings.
I'm sold on the doghouse.
Same. I like it. So yeah, there's obviously going to be some kind of staircase inside this gantry bunker structure on the side here to access all the different levels of all the equipment in here. And there's probably already a staircase in there somewhere we haven't quite spotted yet.
Between on the top of frame, between the wall, the trench wall, there's one of the stairwells. If you pan up a little bit, in that gap, you can see there's one of them.
Ah, there is two. Okay,
and there's the other set of stairs staged over by the deluge tanks.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then obviously there's that'll give you access to that one. There must be some kind of walkway through here eventually too to get into this one.
On the extension of the speed core walls, is an opening.
So they can actually get through this wall.
No, they're going to extend that wall all the way up to the deck.
Oh, they have to. Yeah, that's right. We'll just go over there quickly. I did finally find a photo of that. Just 1 second. I think this one. I had trouble yesterday too. This one will do it. So we have some extra pieces here. Ah, the access way. There it is there. Yep.
Yeah.
So these pieces, which are new and I didn't expect to see, to be honest, but some people did, should go in here. I will go in here and they're going to match that steel beams line there to bring this side of the wall at least all the way up to protect the gantry, all the way up to the top. And there's even a cutout, is there, for that pipe up top on both sides, is that right?
Yeah.
In that piece there. So still more of this to come, obviously. 1, 2, 3, and one for the other side as well, I imagine.
They should have one on the other side. And
yeah. Just while we're in this image, we see lots of concrete, new concrete here and over here. This is where my comment was. It's kind of laughed at a bit. That's good to see them finishing areas off with concrete, but obviously concrete doesn't last that long here at Starbase, does it?
Well, I think they even poured that section later in the day.
Yeah, it's going ahead quite quickly. I'll swing back around to that in a second. Just while here, it's at the flame trench. A little detail you noticed, Alex, was they still have these left open by the looks and one cut short. And it could be difficult to weld them back up. I'll go ahead.
Unless it's like you said, that they weld the cap on the inside of the hole.
Yeah, like an insert, basically the cap that would go over the outside but turn around the other way and go inside, smaller diameter, was I thought. Yeah. Because they touch the floor, do they? Is that what you're saying? They touch the steel down here too?
Correct.
And
yeah, when they cut that.
Yeah, a couple of short ones.
So here's an idea. Have you guys floated at all that they might leave those partially open to create like a film layer of water on the steel plates?
That's one good possibility. And the other is they're going to flush these and then quasi-cap them, because adding a lot of moisture there would put a pressure bubble that would help redirect the plume as well, upwards.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely leave them uncapped before they, flush it out. But then I'm wondering after the fact if they completely cover that or if they basically put like a reducer that allows it to still build pressure.
Yeah. To Stephanie's point of welding in the cap and having that have the threaded nipple coming out for attaching sprayers, so they're the sprayer is protected by the outside of the pipe, and then you'd still have the jet coating that steel. Because it's
they wouldn't be
They're
able to be left fully open, Ryan, would they? Because they would need to build pressure to allow the water to squirt out. And my thought was they would want to purge out the open ends rather than through the tiny holes, just initially.
and those are purposefully, because the wings of it, they left. It looks they're capped over, so I think it's intentional. But Ryan's probably right on film cooling the plates.
Still confuses me why they actually had caps initially on the ends of these things when they were at Sanchez, and then they installed them and then just hacked those off. I mean, it seems weird they would have had ends on it at all, and then to do that. But I don't know. Maybe something changed in the design after construction started.
Yeah, there's probably they might have protect it for transport and construction, but that seems like an expensive option.
Okay, we can see they're starting to put these plates in. This one looks like a straight plate. It's probably still being lifted up into the straight section. So last week we saw them putting in steel beams across on the edges here. I'm sure there's a better photo, but anyway, we know what we mean. And then these plates here are going in to protect the sidewalls here. We saw curved pieces and straight pieces.
Thought there was a opposite angles that you could, looking at the bunker side.
Yeah, there is. I'm just struggling. Sorry, be patient with me with the photos. I seem to be struggling with the photos a bit this morning for some reason.
Pretty much anyone you'll put up, we could probably talk for 10 minutes on.
Yeah,
Hey, Alex, let me ask you a question though while Steph's organizing. Considering the amount of pressure that's going to be put into this system to flush the water through, could these pipes be the restriction by themselves and they wouldn't need to restrict them anymore?
No, because if these are 8-inch diameter and they're being fed by like a 60-inch pipe.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't math. Okay. I was just thinking.
Yeah.
You
'cause it's
could
gonna be quite
potentially, if you're exceeding kind of the flow rate of what that pipe can do, you'd probably still get some leakage out of the holes, but you'd still want something to create the back pressure to actually encourage the water to spray out.
Yeah, because you're going to want to spray at where the first flames are hitting at the bottom of the bucket, because there's going to be any place the plume slows down, there's going to be hot. It'll heat up.
I'll just shot some of those plates in place in there. That'll do for now. That'll do.
I think there's actually one. There's another image, Stephanie, where there's a flat plate laying kind of like half on the bucket at the bottom, and I think it might be the other straight piece for the other side. It's in one of their images on the other side of the mount, the kind of the angle that we were looking at initially. It's roughly kind of in that angle. You have to look a little. Yeah, I think the camera needs to be a little further to the right. So I'm not sure which photo might show that. You need to spend. Yeah, that one will do it for sure. Yeah, right there at the bottom, there's another big flat plate that's kind of like halfway.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you. Yep. I was going to say that's not more stuff to put in between the pipes, isn't it? It's just scaffolding.
Yeah,
okay.
They moved all the scaffolding to the inside with all the finishing the groundwork and.
I'm going to try and find that shot again. Please bear with me. This one might do it. These pipes in here are being hooked up. Hang on, I'll find a better photo. I'm having one of those weeks, guys. Just bear with me.
It's all good.
Seems to get worse and worse.
could be me doing it, and then it would be really bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't even try. I don't know how you do it. The piles on the lifting area are curious.
Hey, 1 second. What was that? Sorry, Alex?
Oh, the piles on the lifting space are a nice touch.
Oh, where they're going to stage the vehicles for lifting. Yeah.
So
Almost
funny
like
thing. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
Oh, you go, because it's probably similar.
So a couple of weeks ago, I think now, maybe even a couple months at this point, I kind of joked about the water manifold on this side having kind of a weird shape at the end. It's actually blocked by the crane and the scaffolding in this corner here, but there was an area where it kind of like got a little bit skinnier and whatnot. And looking at the proximity of the piles on the staging pad to the wall on this side of the mount, I'm not sure if that was actually all that funny of a joke, because it does kind of seem like it's pretty close there, especially with the overhang, to where I'm kind of wondering if the reason why they had that weird geometry is indeed because of the flaps on the ship trying to lift that next to the mount. I don't know. Was that what you were going to say, Alex?
Yeah, it's everything is curious.
Because that's roughly where the flap of the ship would need to be when they're lifting, is in that corner based on those piles. And yeah. It's
Weird
I joked
cutout.
about it, but it starts to make a little more sense now. I was waiting to see where the staging pad would be, and sure enough, it's right where I was imagining it might need to be.
And those poor flaps are just always in slightly the wrong place. Lifting.
It's on pad A, it's actually a little tight, but there's definitely some room to get by. But given that this is a square structure instead of a circular one, the overall footprint is larger in the corners, and so that does eat into your space, and so that they can only move that staging pad so far, just because the arm can only rotate so far. So yeah, they a little bit of a geometry situation here, and it seems like of all the things that they could nudge or want to nudge, it seems like the pipe connecting the water manifolds is what ended up drawing the short straw.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
But yeah, we can't really see it at all. There's just too much scaffolding and whatever else in there. So when they remove that stuff, it'll be easier to see it, and hopefully we'll get confirmation on that someday.
It's the first lift is going to show it. It's perfect.
Okay,
yeah. It's the corner of the manifold here where it has that really weird pinch down.
Yeah, just in here.
Yeah.
There's some more of this water deluge, or maybe some of these are to pull water from the bottom of the trench too. But some of these are going up into the side. I think up into the QD, up into the launch mount. So getting hooked up. Still a couple to go.
The upper one goes into the launch mount. The two stacked. That one goes into the launch mount, and the lower one goes into just below the launch mount through the trench wall. Starship Gazer had a ground shot yesterday that showed it. Can't really see it from any of the ground photos, unfortunately.
Yep. Okay. So that's the launch mounts making good advancements. So I've always said that the same with building a house, whatever, the main structures are sort of quick and easy to a certain extent, and then all the fitting up everything can take up a lot of the time. So still a lot of electrical still to be done, a lot of little fiddly things, and fitting up all these the final stages of the cryo runs and all the high pressure lines and everything. So still a significant amount of actual work to be done, even though the bulk seems to be done.
And the pipes last week that I was speculating looked like deluge pipes turned out to be looks like purge lines for the lower section above the main propellant valves.
Sure, yep. They've got another shot of that. Yeah, last week at Sanchez, we saw some pipes with multiple holes drilled into them, which we thought may be something to do with more water deluge. It turns out it's for nitrogen purge. Is that right? For the gantry slash
the
bunker
bunker.
system.
Yeah. And with the amount of scaffolding they put up, looks like, to your point, they're going to be doing a lot of the fittings on those in place. I don't think they'll just leave the empty holes. They'll probably have to have some sort of nozzles on them.
Would it maybe be water in as well? Just straight nitrogen, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you wouldn't. If you sprayed water in there with all the pipes, it would.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, or CO2. It's definitely a fire suppression type system.
I wonder if we'll be able to see that running, prior to a launch. If there's maybe a an opening on the mount somewhere that'll have a fan on it that it's trying to maybe suck out some of the vapor. If if really any indication that that system is active.
I hope so. There's going to be so many new interesting tells on this launch complex. Yeah, I think a ground shot would. But
yeah,
we'll find a shot for next week.
Anyway, it's under here. Yeah, it's under here. I'll get Sean one of Sean Geisler's photos for next week. Okay, well that's pretty well the launch mount area, I think. Is that right, Alex? You're gonna find something else I forgot to mention?
Do we want to point out the clamp that's installed?
Yeah,
the clamp. Yes, thank you.
I know they they covered some of the fun stuff, but I think there's one clamp that's exposed. I can't remember. There's one photo that shows it really, really good. I think it's actually might be this one, maybe from a top down. But there's another one that's a little more kind of angled downward that you can see a little better.
Yeah,
So that's the clamp right there.
Yeah, the linkage geometry is interesting.
And the linkage is back there. I think this one has one, and that one has one too, but you obviously can't see it.
But a lot of it is to more or less keep the clamping mechanism more parallel than having a large arc to it.
That's the wrong angle. Yeah, so it's good to see some of those mechanisms starting to be installed. Some weeks I can just nail these images, and other weeks it's just a bit of a struggle. But anyway, that was a good enough photo there. We can see the clamp. We can see here that there's no clamps in here, and you can see the linkage is back here. But in this photo here, we can actually see the clamp right there, and the linkage is hooked up to it back in there. So as the linkage is kind of bent, the linkage is in its bend, it'll be retracted, and as that linkage straightens out, it'll push and pivot and push that over and pinch the booster.
Yeah, this actuator in the bottom has a cam on it for positioning one of the mid link, because two of the links have free pivot points.
Would that be like to over center?
It's
so they kind of latch into place.
It's to position how the beak portion comes out, because most people have it following quite a large arc, but in actuality it's going to stay more or less parallel to the mounting interface.
Apologies, Kiwi. This is a Chrome Kiwi image. I haven't got his watermark on here, but thanks to Chrome Kiwi, This may not be completely accurate, but that's not Chrome Kiwi's strong point. What he does really exceptionally well is comes up with the shapes we see on the ground and starts to piece together to give us an overall idea of how the systems will work. And quite often he's very accurate, but sometimes it doesn't matter. That's not, like I said, Kiwi's strong point is to get these images out for us quite quickly and to show us roughly how the pieces fit together. He has got some. I don't mean to say he's not accurate. I don't mean to diss his work like that. It's awesome work. Thank you, Kiwi.
It's a broad overall. It shows more than the minutia details that some of us obsess over.
A picture paints 1,000 words. Oh, sorry, Todd.
That's okay. There's been many times in show and tell where I see stuff on the ground and I jump to see who's in chat, hoping that Chrome Kiwi's there because it's like, oh, cool. Okay, at least he's watching now. He'll get something figured out for this stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Ryan. Now, I apologise. I didn't remember to look at that myself. Okay, moving on. Can we move on now, please? Okay, quickly over here. They got some new trenches. Sorry.
No, I was just saying carry on.
Yeah, we've got some new trenches. Maybe to do with the water. There is electrical conduit nearby, so it might have something to do with electrical conduits as well. Quite often there's more than one thing.
Looks like there's a lot of water drainage pipes staged near that trench too, though.
That's a decent trench too. Look, they've stepped it down. What's down here? Here we go. There's some things down here already.
I know
the
water lines come. That looks like the pipes that they fuse together for the water lines.
Yep. Yeah. It's in show and tell we're mentioning it might be water. Oh, there's some drainage there, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now we're just going to jump over here and see they put a new slab in here, which leaves very little room for vehicles to pass through here. In saying that, we can also notice that there's a distinctive track through here. So it's looking a lot like this is where the vehicles are going to enter the launch site in the future.
It can't be.
I was going to say by vehicles, Steph means the actual ships and boosters vehicles, not cars.
Yeah, it can't be, Steph. You've thought this for months now.
Yeah, I have thought this was going to be an access way. And it's, I think there was something to do with people saying something to do about the chopsticks where they have to come through there. But if we look over at Pad A, it's very much like Pad A where the vehicles come past the tower and then the launch vehicles, and then, thanks Todd, and then come back into the chopsticks. So that's not an issue. And then from there here, they can obviously carry on to the launch pad A.
Yeah, so if you could steer the SPMT through that narrow opening on what's turning into D2, they could definitely shimmy the ship and booster to their lifting spot.
But there's, possibly room for no, that's getting, it's possibly room for a ship, but definitely not room for a booster.
That's not the stands, because there's embeds along that edge, as well as the slab's elevated. So,
I was gonna say, yeah. Maybe this is just a continuation of the ramp, but yeah, it does look like with the framework, it's above grade, so that would no longer be an entrance, which is a little puzzling considering they want to launch, vehicles in like a month. So, how are they going to get them to Pad A?
On the path, former D0.
Yeah, we'll have to. Maybe there'll be a mass clearing of that pathway, and they might use it. But yeah, that'll be interesting.
Well, there's no two ways about it. They're going to have to use it, so they will end up. There's not much to clear out, to be honest. There's just a little bit through here. This will all be covered very soon with the steel, the new type of steel covers. Will go over that trench. They're racing to get this bit of concrete through here, but as far as I know, the SPMTs can carry over decent dirt, I would imagine.
Does make sense why they do, appear to be concrete in that area. Then, if that's actually going to be the plan, yeah.
And yeah, and actually, it almost looks like they're going to have access to this pad, sort of similar sort of timing. Not that this pad's anywhere near ready, obviously, but anyway. Yeah, I'd say, I'm pretty sure that's going to be very much the next booster 16 and ship 37 even to Static Pi 37. I think will also come through here. I still don't think a ship, like I said, a ship may fit through that D2 still, but I think they'll just bring the ship through here, is my guess. It's good to see concrete going in, making it appear like they're finishing things up. I'll say that again. More concrete through here.
And it also, they could drive parallel with the pad with SPMTs to that lifting platform.
Yeah, into here and then back in.
Yeah.
Well, they have to come in. They have to come in this way anyway to get into the chopsticks, obviously.
Yeah, one thing they'll have to kind of be careful with, and they do this with Pad A, already when they get a vehicle up next to it, but the way that they index the vehicle on the transport stand is pretty important. And here it'll be even more so important just because you have this big parallel wall with the trench there. So yeah, they're basically going to have to parallel park it, right here. So yeah, if they, come along here with the SPMTs, yeah, they'll probably come through the opening between the wall and the tower, and then yeah, they'll do their sideways crab walk over to the station probably. And who knows, they might even spin it and then bring it over, depending on the orientation of the vehicle. It really depends on, how the SPMTs, fit with all of that. They have a lot of flexibility on what they can do.
Yeah,
Well, they're going to do a similar thing here. They're going to come past, sort of, then come back in too here, don't they?
Yeah, and with this one, they have to kind of watch with that little tiny jet out from that leg. That's kind of always been an interesting thing. They have to make sure that they miss when they roll a vehicle up here, as well as the jet out from the tower as well. So Pad A is there's a little bit more room open wise, but if you look into the details, it is still a little congested on missing certain obstacles.
They're pretty clever, those drivers, I must say. I'm pretty impressed with their SPMT skills.
they really use it great for positioning the vehicle since chopsticks have such limited adjustments.
True. So this little area here hasn't changed much, but I'm getting some awesome photos in here. Geez, Alex, might not really be able to see those connections there. Is that one of those connections there, is it?
Looks like a flange. No, yeah. If you look at the other pipe, it's almost how they've been insulating it, but there should be a flange connecting into it.
So I was under the false impression that these pipes went all the way through to there, but they actually attached to these pipes for pre-chill, is that right?
Pre-chill and purging. Because they look like they're going to be connected to the pre-press line. Because when they're draining the lines, they're generally blowing out the fluids in them with gas.
And thanks to Alex's amazing patience, recently I only just learnt that the methane return from the booster and the methane return from the ship both get joined just in here somewhere. Is it that pipe?
The lower one.
Down there.
Yeah. The upper one is the oddball since they have both methane and LOX return.
So at the other end of this commodities trench, there's only one methane return for both ship and booster.
Correct.
Which makes sense in hindsight, to be honest. Okay, what a deluge. They're still at these pipes to hook up. They're continuing the wall through here nicely. There's some kind of something going in here and here. I'm not sure. Maybe supports.
Yeah, no, the way the wall's set up, the piles are to hold the wall down, and if you apply a force, those grade beams heading backwards, those tongues are to support the wall to keep it from turning over.
Yep.
So
Because these hold it down too, don't they? These piles in front of the wall.
yeah, they're to hold the toe of the wall down. And
So basically, it's like having a gusset, but not an actual triangular gusset. It's just built into the basically the base plate.
exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you, Ryan.
Hey, Scott,
Yep.
earlier in the chat, SJ was asking how the water deluge system pipes work. Can you give a quick rundown from the nitrogen expansion area to which the flow direction? Just kind of give a rundown of how the system will work.
Here we go. Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, I can.
Say Alex might be better for this, but
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Alex.
Okay, the large pipes are for the flame buckets on either side. And for the start of the system, you have the gas generators are going to fire up and pump in, start pressurizing the tanks. And then they have the control valves on the ground, the orange and gray ones. Those will shut, so the pressure will build, the water will head up the weirs, and at this point, it's nothing stopping it. And on the other side, the top weir, the weir is for the ridge plate on the flame bucket. So both of the weirs are strictly for the deflectors. The pipe on the ground on the right is what's protecting the OLM deck. Potentially, that little one there is going to be for the QD's hoods, doghouses, and the 6 small pipes. One of them is definitely the sump, and 2 of them are FireX related. So there's 4 outputs on the FireX system that are definitely for those, and one is looks like it'll be for pre-filling the OLM deck manifolds, pre-charging it with water.
Thank you very much. So we've got the large pipe coming off these 4 tanks, and these 2 have a little Y intersection under here. There's a little T intersection, Y intersection, whatever, underneath here. These ones use the weir to hold the water back, and these lower ones use a gate valve in here, which looks like they're getting installed finally. We saw them, didn't we? We saw them. They were sitting just over here somewhere, the gate valves, the other week.
The butterfly is still there. Yeah, it's a orange actuator just to the left. There's a better shot.
Yeah, that's fine. These are amazing. These things are so amazing. So they're burning gaseous oxygen and gaseous methane to create a fire, and then they're injecting liquid nitrogen in around that area to expand it, and they're exhausting into the pipe as well. So in here you'll have gaseous nitrogen, a little bit of carbon dioxide, and a little bit of H2O vapor, and maybe a few impurities here or there, depending on the purity of the methane, I guess.
And how hot it is in the nitrogen interface, you'll get some NOx potential.
Okay.
But it'll interact with the water vapor in the tanks.
So we can see sorry.
No, I would get in the weeds with the chemistry.
Yeah, you like doing that. In here we can see where this is the control panel for the gaseous oxygen and gaseous methane coming in.
Is that a explosion flame arrestor in the center? The big, thick black go up and to the left. Down, straight down. Down, right there. Up. Right there above your hand. Yeah, that big. I think that's the flame arrestor for the methane line.
Oh, to stop the flame coming backwards.
Yeah.
You can tell you've been looking at this, Alex, because you can take about 6 pixels and turn them into something.
Just a wee bit.
Yes, that is a talent, I must say, very much so. So amongst this line, we've traced gaseous oxygen and gaseous methane from this high-pressure methane tank to gaseous methane. I'm sure this has been covered, I guess, and the gaseous oxygen coming from one of these pair of tanks,
The front,
which gets the front one,
the small ones, the smaller
small
stack.
one, and then
Yeah.
gaseous nitrogen as well, maybe to pre-charge the system a bit.
To charge the tanks.
Yeah. And they get replenished down through this underground run through here. So liquid nitrogen comes in through here for the nitrogen system, and which is strange. Didn't we see a tank uploading? I thought they might upload over here, but for some reason they've got liquid nitrogen line running through here as well.
They were commissioning the two larger ones, and they filled them. The smaller ones, they just recently, they're still pumping down. You can see the compressor.
Yeah. So they're pumping down the vacuum jacket is what Alex is referring to there.
Yeah, it takes a while.
So, and that all comes from the, obviously from the, over at the tank farm through the main, or beside the commodities trench there, there's all those high pressure gas lines and the pre-pressed lines and everything. So that's sort of a wrap up. I hope that answers your question over there with the deluge. It's sort of similar. I know there's similarities and there's distinct differences between the three water deluge farms. I guess the only similarity really is they all use compressed nitrogen to push the water out rather than gravity instead of a water tower. So, and the way that gas is generated is vastly different on the three different water deluge systems. Even between the one at Massey's, which is on demand as well as this one's on demand. It's only really the heat exchange that's probably the biggest difference, really. That instead of being a water system at Massey's, they're going to use fire, which is just awesome. I could imagine that we were talking about this, I think in show and tell, it would have been awesome fun for maybe the rocket engine engineers or whichever engineers to come up with this system. It would have been a nice little project, I would imagine, a fun little project.
And it's very reliable. It's cheap because the heat exchangers they're using at Massey's are quite pricey.
You can tell that they've basically, this is like the third level of the system, because for pad A, they basically had a bunch of those compressed gas tanks, and they have them all stacked up, and that was kind of like level 1 of the system. And that you're kind of limited in this case with how many gas tanks you have, and they've rearranged this a couple of times, but it's probably not very easy to use this sort of a setup, because you have to completely recharge all of these tanks every single time. Otherwise, it's basically you open a valve and it all shoots out. But here at Massey's, they're doing a little bit more of like an active generation. So they just introduce the liquid nitrogen, and then it turns it into the gas that they then backfeed in the tank. Kind of the problem with that is it's not like super fine control. Like it generates the gas, but it kind of turns into a little bit of like a runaway diesel effect in some cases. You can turn off different valves and whatnot to shut it off, but it's not very controllable. But here at the launch site, with this new system, it seems like it's a whole new level where they're actually able to more precisely control on pad B how much pressure they want to generate through some of the testing that they've done with these things at McGregor presumably, and they're just going to have a lot more fine control. And given the amount of gas that they're going to have to generate to actually keep the flame trench from melting from the future Raptor thrust increases, this should be very cool for them, and allow for them to actually, increase the output if they need it. And, we're already seeing them, prepping to include more water tanks. So it's easy to see that the system should be able to be flexible to expand out a lot easier than the system where they have to add, tens of, those high pressure tank assemblies.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely bringing in 2 more tanks for this system in the very near future.
Yeah, 2 here. So one to straddle here and one to straddle there. and we'll probably leave them some options to even go further. Plus, remember, there's an extra.
This one's being shipped. There's a large and a small one. If you look at the looks like giant wave washers a little bit further down that they use to reinforce the outlet.
So
yeah,
is
I
that
saw that.
just different size outlets though on the same size tanks?
It's for the tank diameters are slightly different.
Oh, the actual
Yeah.
actual diameters of the ISO ones. Okay.
Yeah, that's to reinforce the outlet, the inlet of the manifold, I believe. Not on the
Underneath,
tank
yeah.
itself, on the green pipe.
Oh, okay. You mean where the green pipe attaches to the tank?
Yeah, that. Yeah, they usually have been putting a gusset there as well.
Are they a different diameter?
Yeah, no, the green pipes are where
Oh, the
those.
different size. I got you. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. You did
Yeah.
say that. So there's going to be
The
a
tank-
large pipe and a small pipe.
Yeah, which corresponds to the two different sizes. And the pedestals, there's one for the fifth large tank.
Pedestals over here.
And two of them are installed on the large tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll add this little bit of pipe in here with what you're saying, with that one of those lifesaver type things.
Yeah.
And then they'll attach to this pipe under here for at least one more in here. So you think for now there'll only be one more here, or not two?
I'm assuming there'll be two at some point, but they've only started prepping the middle pedestal. It's
I see. Yeah.
But that's not to say that's a quick and easy fix.
I'm wondering if this.
Sorry, Ryan.
I'm wondering if this, because they had several, many of these tanks have been here for a while. I'm wondering if, like we mentioned earlier, with the way that they cut off the ends of the tubes for the flame bucket, I'm wondering if there was a little bit of a design change here where they decided they maybe needed more water, and that's why we're seeing them add in a couple more tanks, after the fact here, and maybe that means there was a design change. I guess I don't know. Maybe there was a longer lead time on additional tanks, and it's as simple as that.
My theory is it's a very congested job site, and that bringing those tanks at the end, if they weren't needed, gave them some added work area. Because that's Go on.
Even having the pedestals not prepared until later gave them time to get the cranes in closer to where they want to put them and all the equipment. And then, they're not coming yet, so let's put the footings in later when everything else in between is done.
And they've hidden so many piles under the ground that magically appear.
All right, we're going to keep moving here. We can see there's spots here for extra gas generators too. These are T pieces here as far as we know. There's one there for this liquid nitrogen, and so these are more T's. So there's room for more gas generators in there and there, I think. Yeah, there's another T there, at least one more there, and then at least, what was it, 3 in here? Do we count, or 4?
4.
Yeah. And there's the liquid nitrogen system's actually split into 2 systems here. You can see where they don't join together here.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to keep moving on, guys. This week saw some testing. I think there's a photo here somewhere. Some of these have still got some frost on parts of the baskets, I think.
Yeah, the baskets next to the blast wall and the under manifolds under the locks. Yeah.
Oh, here, the actuators, actually, sorry.
Yeah. And on the blast wall in front, that basket strainer is still frosty because during these tests they're pulling nitrogen from one of the tanks and returning it to the other tank. The end tank is the receiver. Now, the middle one is the supply, and the one on the right is the receiver. They're pumping everything back in the test.
So this tank farm's looking remarkably complete. There's still a couple little things in some of these areas they may be not quite hooked up yet because they're not finished testing yet, but mostly like 99% of the plumbing seems to be complete by now.
Yeah, the methane, most of it's done. But that they're going to be testing it looks like, with the 2 large new tanks.
Cool. I'm going to keep moving here. We'll head across the... there it is. There's another shot of that doghouse. I like that. Jeez, you can really see the shape that's drawn on top of the OLM there, in the with that being the front. It sort of matches the angle of the top of the QD too, doesn't it?
I know initially when people saw this on the trailer, they were thinking it was for the ship QD on pad A, but I knew I saw that flared angle at the front, at the bottom, and I knew that matched exactly with pad B. So that was the giveaway there.
Very good.
Yeah, it'd been funny if they were doing anything with pad A.
We'll get to pad A quickly in a second. We're still missing this link to hook the old methane farm into the new methane line. I guess that'll happen or not sooner or later.
They've tied some of it together already.
We see that piece sitting at Sanchez, that one piece of pipe. These tanks look pretty well fully hooked up and maybe even getting ready to be tested soon. I think one of the things Alex is saying, we're missing the upload to fill them up still.
The silver pipe, lower right on the rack, that's the methane fill line that they're bringing the tankers back to the front.
Yeah. And will that require a safety wall, or they should be able to do it here in the open?
They should do it in the open, but looks like they're re-chopping up what they directionally bored for some of the control lines. So
I'm not sure what's going to happen here. It looks like they're going to dig that up again. Once again, concrete's kind of temporary around here.
Well, they just dug that up recently you can see the conduits going up to that section, the methane farm.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So that's you saying those conduits already been run. They could dig them up and change them.
Yeah, they were directionally boring it earlier in the year.
Yeah.
But now they're tearing up.
Okay, did someone mention pad A? So there's a little bit going on over here at pad A. Actually, quite a lot. So they've got the adapter ring in place now. For anyone's catching up, this is to finally put a ship on OLM A, which we spoke about for years. We've been speaking about this will never ever happen. There's no way they'll ever put a ship on OLM A, but here we go. Look at that. We have exactly that happening. So obviously, because Massey's is kind of a little bit wrecked at the moment, they're needing to fire ship 37. I guess the big question I've asked for a while now, and I guess people are asking a lot, is whether they pull all this down for 38 or they wait and static fire 38 here as well. And I'm still in two minds about that.
I think it really depends on when they want to launch, because 38 is nowhere near ready to static fire. It hasn't even been cryo tested yet. So if they want to wait for 38 to be ready, then we're not looking at a launch for probably two months at least, maybe 2.5. So given that, we keep hearing they want to try and launch, maybe halfway through August or so, the first half of August, then, I see no way that they're going to do that and have 38 static fired, but at the same time. So, kind of leads me to assume that this is all going to have to come off and be converted back to a booster stand and then do the launch.
So there was a tweet from Elon saying they're launching in 3 weeks, like last week, whatever. But I mean, that is, Elon time perhaps. And my thought about the next flight is that there is no real hurry because, I mean, that's only 2 more flights and Booster 18 and Ship 39 are like nowhere near ready. They've got a lot of time before they need to launch the version 3. So there's a lot of time to launch these last 2 flights off this launch pad. So I'm 50-50. They have the time to do both. But then again, if you believe Elon's time, which sometimes it's correct, but as we've seen in the past, sometimes it's not so correct. So it's hard to tell what's going to happen. Have they extended these, Alex, down to actually meet here now?
Looks like it.
Because they were
Weird.
cut off somewhere in earlier photos.
Yeah, it looked like for a while it looked like they're going to try and keep the lower half attached, but they really hate this pad if they do.
So this has all been welded in place. I mean, this is not just a temporary bolt-on job. It's a lot of work's gone into it, like a lot of work. So we've got the main cryo lines and the methane return, and we can see some high-pressure lines and I guess some pre-press over here on the sides. And we've got the LOX engine drains on both sides, which more than likely go into the existing manifold underneath to go out into the pond for engine chill. Is that right, these ones?
Yeah, you can see in some images that they have indeed tapped into the ports that they connect the booster lines to. So they're using the same pipe and same setup. But it's a little confusing. There's 4 lines on each side. Originally, I think there was 3 on one side and 3 on the other. But now it's 4 and 4. So at one point it seemed like, okay, maybe they're going to do one for each engine, but last time I checked, the ships don't have 8 engines, so it seems like maybe they're just going to be splitting, because underneath the aft flaps on the ship, they have the 2 main pipes for chill. And so it seems like maybe they're going to be taking each of those and kind of splitting it into 2 pipes. Why they would do 2 lines and not 1, I don't know, but it might have something to do with tapping into the pipe down below, just reusing the same sort of hardware. So I guess we'll have to see, what happens with those once a ship comes out.
And they've got the adapter. Where is it in here somewhere? There's those on the end of the clamp arms here. This little adapter to go between the ring and the clamp. Little piece of steel to bolt to the clamp arms, and that'll be welded to the actual stand. Yeah, I'll be very interested to see what they do after they static fire Ship 37 here. I'm still 50-50 as to what they're going to do with all this plumbing. It seems ridiculous to remove it just one flight then put it all back again. But like I say, they have a lot of time still before they need to launch off pad B just to do 2 more flights up here. So there's plenty of time to do both, wait for 38. But there's also plenty of time to remove all this, do the next launch, and then put it all back again for 38. So still 50-50 either way. If you believe Elon, well, they're going to pull it all apart, do a launch, and put it back again. So that's probably our best guide for now.
So if you go to one of the more shallower angles of the launch mount, you can see that they've installed the little standoffs on the stand to actually connect to the RVAC braces. So we know they put those little triangular pieces on the stand, which we can't see due to all the scaffolding here, but you can kind of see the very tops of them are kind of poked out, and then they have kind of a standoff bolted on top of that. So that's these little surfaces that are extending up here. So that's what, when they set a ship down on the stand, they then bolt the Raptor vacuum support braces to that, and that's what holds those nozzles during the static fire.
Yep. Of course, that's because you can't, in quotes, can't static fire a RVAC engine at sea level because you get dangerous conditions that can break a bell, and if they support the bell, they don't. They can stop the damage because it's
Yeah.
the flame, isn't it, leaving the surface, isn't it?
You basically
Hey.
get flow separation due to the pressure differential from atmospheric to the nozzle extension, because the nozzle extension basically expands the gas to basically below ambient temperature in some cases, and so they have these little support rings. What happens is when you end up with the flow separation, it causes the nozzle to actually flex and kind of oscillate, and that can build over time and cause a destructive failure. So they basically take just a circular piece of steel and they wrap it around the end of the nozzle to keep it in a circle shape. So then when you static fire it, you may still get some flow separation, but it's not going to cause it to start making the nozzle flex and move and destroy itself.
Yeah. There's a way to fire single vacuums at atmosphere. You basically mount it at the end of a cap pipe, so it'll entrain the air and create a vacuum behind it, since the air can't get past the flame. Sort of like a Venturi pump.
Oh, I see.
But you can only do that on test stands.
Yeah, of course. Okay, just quickly in the distance here, I noticed a bulldozer. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with this air separation unit starting to do groundwork or not, or whether it's just general tidying up around the area, but that may indicate they're going to start that air separation unit groundwork soon. The paperwork we saw was to do with they now got a clearance to ask for a building permit. They still don't have a building permit yet.
Yeah, they could start implementing the remediation on some of the other dunes they own to replace what's being lost here.
Okay, thanks. Yep. Okay, and for a final time, let's go back to chat. I think I can see a bit of funny business going over there on chat. Looks like you're all enjoying yourselves over there, Joe. How are they going over there?
Yeah, chat's been fun to say the least. Thanks, Matt. I do want to thank Jax for a gifted membership as well as a $20 super chat from Yazada. And says, keep Mauricio in the air. Yes, please. A $10 super chat from Felix11, along with a question: do you think there is a possibility of a full duration ship static fire on Pad A, or would water be a limiting factor?
I don't think there's enough water, and two, I don't know what that would do other than, I mean, you can fill it to various points to extrapolate once it hits steady state, you shouldn't have any dynamic changes at the fuel system, the propellant lines. So that's usually what they're doing, is they ramp it to a set flow rate, validate the flows, and then raise and lower but the long duration where it's doing a steady state, it really doesn't yield too much other than stressing out the bells in the mounts, because they do vibrate from the flow separation pretty severely, which they wouldn't do in the course of the normal flight.
So maybe another thing on that, yeah, water would definitely be a limiting factor. If you scroll down a little bit, Stephanie, to actually show the plate, I wanted to explain the actual water system for this mount is in basically two different stages. So you can kind of visually see that here with some of the shininess on the plate, but like the center there, the middle is kind of one system. It's connected to one pipe, and then the outer ring is kind of connected to a separate pipe. So they have the option, if they wanted to run the system where they don't actually have to turn on both of the water systems, they could just run the center one, which I kind of think they might actually do for the ship static fire. I think that running both of them might be a bit overkill. They might still do it. I mean, considering that they did the 20 clamps versus like the 10 or whatever, they might still turn on both systems. But if they just run the center system, they may be able to save a little bit of water being spilled out that's not going to get vaporized. But they still have the limiting factor of the tanks, are segmented into each system, so they only have so much water for a particular system to run, and I don't think that they really have enough to do a full 60-second static fire.
And the other issue with the plate, the holes are drilled very specifically for where the plume will impinge on it, and with the areas where they have openings, most of the water will bias out of there because it's not going to be fighting with the plume interaction. So this is be very inefficient and damaging doing multiple long-term test fires of a ship on the surface. More so than probably a multiple launches.
Thank you, Jay.
Indeed. And I want to thank Drew Nard for 5 gifted memberships, who also has a question. Do we think SpaceX has pulled all of the COPVs from Ship 37 and tested them, especially given the, I'll quote, potential whistleblowers' remarks about handling?
We know that there has been some testing done because there was video from the McGregor cameras from NASA spaceflight, I believe, showing, I believe it was one COP being blown several hundred feet, if not more, in the air. So they've done some testing on the COPVs. It's unclear whether or not that was kind of a test to failure to maybe corroborate, some statistics, from a manufacturer, or if they've, maybe found something that they wanted to test otherwise. Not really sure. There's certainly some testing being done. Some of the COPVs, they may or may not be able to actually get those out of Ship 37, given, some of the hatches and whatnot. Their stuff is assembled, and, sometimes you can't actually disassemble certain things once you've, enclosed too much space. So I have a feeling they probably did not take all of the COPVs out, but they may have done kind of a selective test on, grabbing a few of the same ones that they used, took them to McGregor, and did some, failure testing on those.
Yeah, that's an excellent analysis. Thanks, Ryan. I do appreciate that. And watching that video, the COPV liberate itself at McGregor was awfully fun. that was a good one. He says, "Gotta go. Love you. Bye."
Yeah, if you ever break a regulator off one of those high pressure cylinders, they're very exciting.
Yeah, a little energetic.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, seriously.
Not Joe?
Yeah,
Yeah,
hello.
did we just lose chat?
That was weird. I lost my voice there for a second too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Stephanie, can you go 2 images to the right? I wanted to point out something real quick here. So if you zoom in right in the center, we actually get a good view of the doghouse. So this is an angle we haven't, I don't think, shown on stream yet. But hence why we're calling it the doghouse.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you very much. I knew we had this image somewhere. Thanks. I've been looking for it. I don't know why I've been struggling with images today. So thank you all for your patience with the images, and thank you, Jay. We'll keep going with questions.
All right. I hope y'all can hear me now. I don't know where I left out. Okay, cool. A couple of questions that are related and regarding the sequence of the final 2 ships and potential testing. From Crane Man and Sixteen Simpleton, could SpaceX cryo test Ship 38 on the OLM, and would they be able to cryo test it with the thrust simulator?
They cannot do a true Ship 38 cryo on the launch mount because they wouldn't have the thrust simulator, and there's nothing built to support that being elevated and put in the proper position here. So if they wanted to do a proper cryo test, they'd have to use the thrust simulator. They'd have to do it at Massey's. Given that we haven't seen any action at the ship cryo stand, I would say that they're probably going to use it. They're just waiting for the ship to be ready. Otherwise, I think we would have seen them start tearing that down already to convert for version 3 vehicles. So it seems like they're kind of positioning themselves so that the OLM here will get ready for ship 37. They're going to finish getting the main components of 38 together so they can do a cryo at Massey's. That'll go there. Once that's done, it'll come back. They can then start converting the cryo station at Massey's for version 3 ships, and then presumably we'll see a static fire here on Pad A for ship 38. But the timing is a little weird, given that it seems like launch is going to be in maybe half a month, but I don't think ship 38 is going to be ready for that. So still a big question whether or not they are going to take things apart and reset back to launch configuration and then redo the ship stuff. We'll just have to watch and see. That's really the only thing we can do.
So even if they brought the ship thrust puck tester down here, because remember they used to do them here, there's not the infrastructure, Alex, you might be able to answer this, to actually hook into the oxygen and nitrogen in this position anymore, is there?
It's under that green thing, concreted, solid, that it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't even think those pads the current geometry.
Good point.
Yeah, they probably don't match the current geometry.
Yeah. I think they have hopes that the next launch will give them the data and they'll just give up on the last V2s.
Agreed. I'm surprised they're even flying 37, to be honest. But anyway, they're going to get data, I guess.
I have the optimistic idea that they're going to be starting the booster testing on Pad B in 2.5 months at most, because that's going to take a couple months worth of testing up there to get that whole system dialed in.
Yeah, I've kind of been saying that too. That it seems like Pad B will be ready for booster testing well before Massey's is ready for version 3 ship testing. So timeline-wise, it makes sense to kind of prioritize what they're currently doing. But from an efficiency standpoint, it would make a lot of sense if they waited until ship 38 was ready for a static fire to convert this back into a launch mount for boosters. Sometimes the plan, what seems efficient isn't what they actually do.
Yeah. Well, they have so many different trades scheduled that changing things just cascades down the entire system.
I think Crayman asked us again. I think we just sort of answered that. If they do get data off 37, they could very much skip 38, yeah. But I guess we're just going to find out. I guess we're going to find out over the next couple of months for sure. Good questions, hard to answer though.
And there's a small, slight chance that they could just use 18 as a sort of a pathfinder booster 7.
A booster 4 - booster 7 type job.
Yeah. And hopefully not budget.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Joe. We better keep moving on these questions to get wrapped up soon. We're nearly on a 3-hour stream, but that's fine. I'm not worried. That's good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we are running a little over today, but it's all right. We had a lot to cover. The only question I have left in my queue is from old tech guy Paul. Congratulations on the ever inevitable and obligatory when Pad B launch question.
Cool. Thank you. All right. So with that, I might start wrapping up. So first, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today on such short notice. We always appreciate your insight and your knowledge with all things Starbase related. So thank you very much for today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I know we went a little long today, but there's so much to talk about, and these images are so good that there's so many things we could just probably spend another 2 hours talking about stuff at least here. So yeah, it's a good show. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Todd, thank you very much for your input. It was valuable as well today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm going to remind everyone to do all the YouTube stuff, but when you do that comment part later on, I want to know all of Matt's nicknames and changes in the ticker. If you can write them all down and post them in there, because I think it's been hilarious. I thank you, Matt. You definitely have gotten me back for last week's tongue twister. Everybody have a great weekend, and thanks again for having me.
And Alex, as always, thank you so much for your patience with explaining all those things to me and then me forgetting and then you're explaining to me again. And thanks for your input as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Ryan and Todd. And, of course, Joe handling all the people in chat. And it's no problem at all. And you're getting very good at translating Alex more for the masses. So thank you, Steph.
It's been a journey, trust me. And I'll sign off. I'm Stephanie B from Australia. Thank you very much for your patience today with the photos. I was a bit funny with the photo today for some reason. And thank you, chat, for your involvement today. I see chat was going pretty well today. That's awesome to see. And I'll hand it over to Joe to thank everybody else. Thank you, Joe.
Yes, indeed. Thank you all for your time and knowledge. Stephanie, Ryan, Alex, and Todd, we appreciate you all. And our stream engineer / producer / ticker tweaker, Matt, thank you for your time and dedication to the stream. Thanks, my lovely wife, Astro Jen, for rounding up the talent and scheduling everybody, making sure everybody's on time and in the right place. And especially Mauricio and the RGV team for grabbing these awesome pictures yesterday, especially with the layover problem and getting the timing right. So with that, thanks everybody for enjoying the stream with us. Most engines cut off, hot staging confirmed. Love you, bye.